The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Oh, hey yo, good evening, everyone.
Hey yo, what a rush!
That is fucking wonderful, mate. I was just saying on the pre-recording, your missus has done such a fantastic job. That looks incredible.
Yeah, it's just one part of the best tag team in the world. Let the side down.
Hey, whoa. You
echoing the real Legion of Doom.
Hey?
Echoing the real Legion of Doom.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, Hawk was a bit of a liability, wasn't he? You messaged me, say, shall we do this? And I said, mate, I don't know if I can afford to go out and get face paints at the moment. I'm out of work again. I go on holiday tomorrow. I probably can't even afford to feed my kids. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but yeah, whatever. And that was how we left it. Next thing I know, for the first time in like ever, I'm first in the studio. I even messaged you to say, is everything all right, mate? Where are you? Then you come on, your camera's off, and I just hear a voice that goes, you're a fucking prick. And then you come up, and I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But it does. It looks glorious, mate. It looks really good.
Yeah, props to Mrs. Mags. She's just spent the last hour painting me up. Yeah.
Why? Well, in that case, I apologise completely to Mrs. Mags that I am not painted up. But at the same time, I did say that I wasn't going to do this. So
you're the Hawk going through his pissed up era where he fucked up in the matches and climbed a tantrum. So,
he even grew those bits of his hair back, didn't he, when that happened?
It did, yeah.
Yeah. See, you look badass, mate. Honestly, I reckon that's really good. I reckon that's really, really good.
Well, some of us have to make an effort for the 100th episode.
I made an effort. Cheeky bastard. I watched that.
Combed your hair.
I watched that freaking awful evening game shit that you put forward. That was a big enough effort.
Compared to that, I didn't fucking realize that match was 40 minutes long that you put forward. I was fuming.
Yes, it was. I think we're going to have some differing opinions when it comes to our wrestling.
I can't afford some face paint. Maybe next time ask the wife, because she has loads of face paint.
Okay.
You're a tosser, sir.
Well, perhaps you could just come up here and paint me up whilst I'm live, just as I'm talking. What do you reckon, Sha? Let us know in the chat, yeah?
That'd be amazing if she does.
This is Chain Wrestling Live 100. Thank you so much to Dan Griffin and Mr. Matt Lewis earlier on today for their coverage of Liverpool-Chelsea. Brilliant stuff, as always. Brilliant stuff for that live episode with Connor as well. So happy having the volley along on SJP World Media. Here's to many, many more shows of theirs. And it's just bloody lovely having football back, Magsy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Well, for some of us.
For some we haven't played
not
yet.
So much.
So.
Yeah. Not so much. I mean, it wasn't the worst result that could happen, but it was certainly a big brought down back to earth after the hearts of the championship season.
Yeah. Well, I thought Burnley played okay, but we'll get on to that, I expect, because I think we've actually got a question about it. So we'll get on to that in a little while, because we have a huge Chain Wrestling Live 100th live edition for you this Sunday night. Oddly, feels weird, doesn't it? 7 o'clock for a start, and on a Sunday, very strange, but it has to be done.
But we'll have you out of here in a jiffy.
Yeah, we've got 3 matches to cover, all of varying eras and quality. We have an Ask Us Anything topic. I mean, it's always going to be Ask Us Anything, Drunkster, one of those kind of things, wasn't it, for our 100th, I kind of thought, as well as an opportunity to promote yourselves. And we definitely will, with all your Twitter handles and shows and so on, even more so than we normally do with the stuff that you send in to us. And we're also playing another one of those little quiz games where we've got to guess the champions into the thing, and I got to try and be quick.
A sporkle. Yeah,
a what, sorry?
A sporkle.
Sporkle.
It's called a sporkle. Yeah.
Okay. So I got to be quite quick in the chat and stuff like that. So that's where I'm going to let the side down for the second time tonight. But there we go.
I think we did really well last week.
We did. We did.
We did really. This one, I feel. Yeah, something like that. I think this one's 63. Okay. I mean, we'll get to it, but I think we've more chance that we'll get this one nailed.
Ooh, interesting. Okie dokie, interesting. But on that note, then, we better crack on for our 100th live episode. And for the 100th live time. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you'll be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Sai, an SJP World Media production. Overall, episode 132. Don't forget those audio-only days. Those scratchy, bad audio, and my shitty little earphone headset. Oh, it's ropey listening back to them, isn't it? In fact, yeah, forget those audio-only days. Start later on. You don't want to go back to that. I am Sai, and with me, as always, is the Battle of the Belts to my cheese melts. We love a toasty, as everyone's aware. The evening game to my old dressing game, because he's sparkly and nice and covered in gemstones, and I'm a kind of a dirty grey. A podcaster who, for Chain Wrestling Live 100, broke the rules just like he did for episode 1. It's a running theme. The podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are we doing, mate?
Well, I look a bit of a proud prick, to be fair, because I thought we were tag teaming. But yeah, I'm doing good. Very excited all day for episode 100. Great leading by the volley. And yeah, just mad that we've made it this far.
It's insane.
I think this may be the first podcast I've been involved with that's got to 100. I know While We Watch tapped out at like 93. No, I think 5 rounds probably has got to over 100. But yeah, it's a big achievement for us.
Yeah, it is. And I'm really happy that we made this milestone. I'm over the moon with how the show's gone, and the little community we've built is quite, it's quite important to me as well. Joining us Definitely. On a Monday night or a Sunday evening, as it is right now. Speaking of that community, Magsy, should we dive into the chat and see who has joined us early doors?
Well, it's a bumper chat already straight away. Thanks for all joining us on this special occasion. We'll start with King Pig's Bladders, who again has provided the amazing graphics that you can see on the screen right now. But I normally write some obscure message here that I get Max to read for my own personal pleasure and his embarrassment. But today, all I'll say is congratulations to you both on your 100th live episode. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It means the world to us that you guys have been along on this ridiculous ride with us. And it's not going to stop any time in the future. So keep on board. He then follows it back up with saying it's been a crazy ride and he's loved every second. Here's to the next 100. The amazing and magnificent Matt Lewis, 100 episodes not out. Thank you very much, Matt, and your support has been amazing from day one. So yeah, we can only thank you very much for that. Another one who supported us from day one, Connor. Hello, guys! Congratulations on 100 live episodes. And he says the most truth in any post he's ever put in. I don't know how you haven't been cancelled yet. I don't know. We got past 5 episodes without being cancelled.
Oh, there's been some moments where I've cringed. There's been some moments where you've cringed, and I think there's been some moments, especially where the wife has cringed.
Like we have gone not only too far, we've gone so far over the line sometimes where we can't even see the line anymore.
Yeah,
it's just been ridiculous. James, yeah, I'm all right. Says congrats on the 100th episode. Up the chaos of wrestling. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of wrestling is that it's fun, no matter what style of wrestling you like. And if you can't make an idiot of yourself every week for other people's pleasure, then what is life even about? Sharon, breaking tradition. It's Sunday night. You know what that means. Wait, what I can imagine Sharon tomorrow tuning into the YouTube video and just crying because she's had to break a streak. It's like Goldberg, isn't it? She's finally had to break the streak.
We'll do a random live on the StreamYard that'll last literally 2 seconds. It'll just be Sharon's face.
Just so I can read Sharon. Charlie also in the chat. Hello, Charlie. How are you? Glad to see you. Glad to see you here. We've got some Charlie-based chicken news in a little while, so there is that. The magnificent Matt Lewis, CWF. Yeah, exactly. What a great little family we've been able to create. It's been absolutely amazing. You're all superstars. King's Pigs Bladders saying hello to Charlie, and then appreciating the video that you put together, sir. And yeah, great work. I mean, you want to sack that editor though, because he's took it a bit personal in the middle of that video.
Yeah, he got a bit upset, didn't he?
Matt says, with a tear in my eye. Well, no, hopefully we haven't give you many tears in your eyes. Hopefully, unless the tears of joy, then we'd be happy with that. Graham from Good Cop Bad Cop says, can't stay but wanted to be here to wish congratulations on 100 episodes. Keep up the great work. Hope you're celebrating with champagne. I know Mags likes his bubbles. Thank you for your calm words, Graham, but piss off with the bubbles talk. But King's Pigs Bladders, shit. That's my screenshot of the night. No, shall I do it? There you go. There you go. Have a go on that.
Absolute brilliant stuff.
James is, oh, what a rush. Tell him, Hawk. that was Hawk telling himself. Dan says, I always knew you were an animal, Mags. Well, yeah, and this just rubber stamps it. Matt says some things never change. Sai is a prick. I mean, that you've literally just been praising his show and he's calling you a prick. I mean, I get to call you a prick because you do prickish things.
I do, I do prickish things all the time. Yeah, but why? Why, Matt?
We'll revisit this one. Maybe next time. Ask the wife. Why did you not run it past Sharon? I just think you weren't committed. But yeah, you. I didn't even
think to, mate. I just thought, oh shit. Okay, where can I get some from? I don't know.
Didn't think to ask the one artist in the family.
Well, there's more artists than that, but Sharon is very arty, yeah.
And you didn't think to ask her?
No, not even once.
Okay. Awesome, as King Big Brother says. Dan says Big Bob isn't even wearing a tuxedo. What a bell! He's a heel. He's a heel, Big Bob.
He is. He's sending good vibes again, though. But
he is. Matt says Sharon, you should paint him whilst he's asleep. That'd be brilliant.
I wouldn't wake up.
If you could paint me whilst I was asleep. Do you not?
I wouldn't wake up.
Oh, I think I would. King Pig's Brother praising the volley there.
Good
Sharon
stuff.
says she's not coming up to to do your face paint because she's got wet hair and looks like shit, so you've got no chance. I mean, you can turn your camera off and do a reveal.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Matt taking the praise from King's Pigs Brother with a thank you and thanking us for having him on the network. It means not Matt. This is your man over here's brainchild. No. I'm just along for the ride. Matt says Sporkle time, he's got this. And look, here we go. We do something where the CWF get involved and Matt will hog the chat. I guarantee it. I guarantee Matt just
with the list of answers on Google on his phone in front of him, just reading them out.
Like the cheater that he is. This is a brilliant one. Matt, the only thing I'm likely to do to him whilst he sleeps is unalarm him.
Oh, mate,
Brilliant.
I upset the wife the other day really badly. We'll get to it in a second. Go on.
Charlie says, wow. Basically, your mum's planning your murder, essentially. Planning your murder. And Matt says, no, Mags, you look amazing. Sal looks like a prick. Well, Connor says the line moves further and further every single week. We've rubbed that line out. We don't have a line anymore. Apart from, like, we don't really like saying the word cunt. But that's it.
Okay. I just think that there might be the odd occasion where my mum might be listening. That's all. My kids hear that word all the time because the wife calls it me quite regularly. But it's
if your mum tunes in, I will be on my best behaviour.
Okay.
Sharon says, we've done a Sunday before, so that streak was broken ages ago. I don't remember what we did last week, to be fair.
What did we do Sunday for? Well, was that to do with your holiday last year?
Was it?
I can't remember. I think so. Or was it my holiday?
Yeah, it might have been.
Anyway.
Sharon, Dan says to Sharon, I've seen the notification. I'm not up. I refuse to open the Cordy gift. just do it. I think Dan's a closet Cordy fan on the sly. He protests way too much.
I bet his entrance theme is his wake up alarm in the morning on his phone.
Yeah, at 7 o'clock in the morning. Adrenaline in my soul.
something, Cody Rhodes.
Finish the story, Dan. Finish the story. I guarantee that happens in the Griffin household. Matt says he promises he's not going to do a Paul Tolle, Mags. I mean, as long as that is you're not going to eat a no stock cube, then we're good. That's just horrific.
That wasn't fun.
Sharon is planning to clearly leave you because she's declaring her undying love to Dan there.
He snores too, just so you know.
And Matt says, and there goes the Volley's imminent sponsorship deal. I mean, if someone wants to sponsor this network, they will have to put up with people swearing. Oh, and Dan says he stepped in for a pre-recorded Not So Lav once too. Yes, you did.
Yeah,
and that was a really fun episode. So yeah, here's me talking shit about a streak, and it was broke time ago. So anyway, that is the chat all caught up with.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I upset the wife a bit, mate, the other night. I made a bit of noise late at night, disturbed the house, and go on. You're dying to say something. What is it?
I'm not. Oh, go on.
Okay.
I have thoughts, depending on what kind of noise this was.
Well, basically, Charlie really, really enjoys this garlic salt stuff. On a little bit of that on her chips. She loves it, right? But it's kind of got a bit stuck to the bottom of the thing. So I thought I'd just tap it on the side and break it up for her a little bit. You know, because I happened to open the cupboard, saw it there, and thought, oh yeah, I've got to do that for Charlie. So she had 2 pots, so I had one in each hand, and I was just banging them on the kitchen side. Okay. And I made a glass, so they made a bit of a noise, and it was a bit loud, but I sorted it out for her and all that. And I thought, great, sound. Good to go. The biggest downside of it was, I suppose, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was where I suppose the initial upset came from. Sharon in the chat will have to confirm exactly what it was, but Liv thought we were hammering, putting up pictures or something like that, because of the noise at one point. But from there, a bit of noise, Charlie said.
Even Charlie saying a bit of noise.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't wake Charlie up. She was probably still awake at that point. She hadn't been asleep yet, the way she operates. Charlie's on a night shift schedule at the moment because she's not at school. She's up talking to her mates till God knows what time, and then sleeps all day. So the fact that she's up now, she's probably wanting her breakfast soon, to be fair. But yeah, so I did that, and Sharon came downstairs and promptly told me off because I was making and rightfully so, because I was being a bit of a verk. I then carried on, made myself a little bit of food before going up to bed. Now, Sharon had been disturbed and was woken up, obviously. So when I went to bed, my snoring then disturbed her further. Sometimes if she goes to bed first, falls asleep, I get into bed. Even if I do snore, doesn't always wake her. That's kind of how we can operate. But on this occasion, she was wide awake because of the noise I'd made. And again, my error, I was a prat. So my snoring then disturbed her even further. So she decided to go downstairs and make herself a cup of tea, have a cup of tea, watch a bit of telly, do whatever, and then try and settle back down later on. Went downstairs, and you got like where your kettle is, and everyone's got that section, aren't they? Where that's where they make their drinks, and then you've got where your teaspoons are and all that sort of stuff ready to go, and
Like
so Sharon made her. Sorry,
like in a drawer.
Yeah, in the drawer, or there's like the draining board pot or whatever, and that's yeah, okay. Or some people have those little trays where the tea bag goes before you throw it in the bin and all that sort of stuff, Sharon, half asleep, very angry. She says there in the chat, I've been asleep for all of 2 minutes before you started on the garlic. So, okay, I didn't realize. Sorry. She apparently, the way she explains this to me is she started making her cup of tea, half asleep, not fully with it, picked up the spoon, stirred her tea, took her teaspoon back out the cup, and apparently the spoon was covered in peanut butter. And that's what I've been that's what I've been eating. I've been eating peanut butter straight out the tub with a teaspoon, just in a bit of a state, and didn't put the teaspoon away. So Sharon, not only was she angry that I disturbed her, and then probably woken up the street, woke up Liv, and then was snoring like a lunatic, she'd also had a weird Yorkshire tea and crunchy peanut butter combo in her cup as well.
Oh, wow. And I bet you had the best sleep in ages, and she was just fucking fuming with you all night.
The following day, my wife tolerates a lot. She, as everyone is fully aware, whoever listens to this show, they are fully, or even knows me in the slightest, is fully aware that my wife is an incredible human being. She tolerates so much from me, it is beyond belief. I mean, don't get me wrong, it goes both ways. There are times when it works the other direction, but she tolerates a great deal from me. She really does. But on this occasion, she was visibly angry. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble here. But I sorted it out because I went to town and bought some flowers and some chocolates and whatever, because I'm a great husband.
You little brown noser. You know which side of your bread is buttered on, and thought, I best not rock this boat anymore because she's very close to pushing me overboard.
Well, there was that as well. Yeah, so not my greatest moment, to be fair. I mean, I say not my greatest moment. There is competition for my most stupid moment, but that's probably up there, I guess.
So Sharon's going to give a little bit more truth to this. She said she wasn't half asleep because clearly she's been asleep for 2 minutes.
Okay.
You put the peanut butter.
Oh yeah, I did that.
On the, I'm assuming that's meant to be on the teaspoon rest. Mags, you have 100% my consent to call him a C-bomb. I don't use that kind of language. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow Dan Griffin's lead. He says, do you know that Burke is Cockney rhyming slang? It's short for Berkeley Hunt, which means every time you say Burke, you are effectively saying, so you're a Burke. You're a full-on 100% grade A Burke.
I am indeed. And again, I've done it plenty of times at home, but publicly, I want to say, Sharon, I am incredibly sorry. I won't, if I ever eat peanut butter straight out the tub again, I won't put the spoon in that place again.
this is a lie. This is what I call a lie, because that will happen again.
I don't think it will.
No, you're just fibbing.
I don't know.
Never say you're not going to do something when you know full well you will absolutely do it again.
No, I don't think I will, purely because we don't often have peanut butter in the house. So I get away with it from that aspect.
You're just barred from peanut butter now. Sharon is kids, no more peanut butter. Your dad has ruined it for you.
Yeah, that's it. I trust. Well, yeah, I took that nice thing and wrecked it for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's why.
Oh dear. We can't have nice things. No, we can't. Magsy, what are we doing first? Are we going to do the little Sporkle quiz jobby effort first? Or are we going to chicken news first? Or what's the plan, my friend?
We'll do chicken news first. Get everyone hyped up for the chickens.
And up to date.
Chicken news with Mags, only on Chain Wrestling.
So, this week's chicken news involves essentially the CWF's adopted chicken, young Charlie. So I'm glad Charlie's actually in the chat for this. So when you get chickens that are close to laying, you can tell when it's going to happen, because their wattles, the little red things that hang down, and the combs, they start being more pronounced. So when you've got a young chicken, These are called these little red things at the side. These are called wattles.
Wattles.
Yeah, wattles.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever heard that
like,
before.
like waffles, but with
Mhm.
T's instead of F's. So these grow because the gizzard is growing, and the gizzard is the part of the chicken that stores stones and oyster shells, so they can make get the calcium to make shells. So when they start growing and the comb starts growing, that's when you know the chicken's getting close to being able to lay eggs. And Charlie's the first out of the new 4 chickens that has grown a comb and got her wattles. So Charlie is probably going to be the first of the young chickens to lay. So I just thought I'd share that little piece of information with you all.
That is amazing. Lovely stuff. Charlie, I hope you're hearing that in the chat. Oh, that's brilliant. Are the others close as well, do you think? Or are they not showing signs yet? Or?
I mean, all chickens after becoming proper hens from chicks will have a little comb and little wattles, but it's when they start becoming redder and they start being more pronounced when you can tell. The other 3 they're probably a week or 2 behind. But yeah, I think Charlie will probably be laying in the next week or so.
Oh, brilliant stuff, mate. Brilliant stuff.
We'll
and is that when you're going to try and send an egg down for Charlie?
I will try my best.
I'm not sure how that will work with Royal Mail.
I might boil it first and then send it.
Okay. Yeah, not second class though, because that'll be rank when it by the time it gets here.
Or I could get Lorraine to resin it.
Ah, good shape. Yeah. Would that work? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because would the inside still go bad?
No, because I cooked the egg and then.
Right.
Or we could even clean the egg out. Just do 2 little pinholes and clean them out. We'll work it out.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a conversation for another time. Excellent stuff. There is your weekly chicken news. A day early, you lucky bastards. So, Magsy, Sporkle, then, as you say it's called.
Yes,
let's do it. This task, time, and vibe? What are we looking at?
So this week's Sporkle is the WCW World Heavyweight Champions. So it's everybody from when the WCW stopped using the NWA name for the title and converted it to the actual WCW one, and it ends basically at the end of 2001 when it became the undisputed title. So that's what we've got. We've got 63 reigns, and I think this is people have multiple reigns, not like last week where it was just the first reign that they had. So for us, I mean, I don't think I'm giving much away. Flair will be on this list multiple times.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're doing. And straight away we've got Dan Griffin said he's already done this and he's aced it. So well, hopefully then we'll be able, with no excuses not to fill it in then. So
we're talking when Flair went home with the big gold belt and they bought out their own title and called it the WCW title, yes?
Well, I think was Flair not already the champion?
Did they not in 91 we're talking here, aren't we?
Yeah, so it's January the 11th, 1991, the first official reign. Yeah.
There we go. No worries. Okay, so I mean, when we're ready to go, we'll shall I shout out from the
chat and any guesses that you've got, and we'll see if we can beat 8 minutes. Are we ready?
I'll try and start the early ones first.
2, 1, go.
Lex Luger.
So we'll have Flair.
Yep.
Luger. Good shout.
Ron Simmons.
Vader, early champion. Hogan, champion. Sting. Yep, so we've nailed a lot of the ones already. Barry Windham.
Randy Savage.
I've gone for Arquette. Savage. Yep.
Vince Russo, of course.
Russo. Oh.
No, I think I may have missed a few in the chat. Let me scroll back out. Keep the shouts coming back in. If I haven't named them yet, shout them out again for me. Booker
the
T.
Giant, Booker T, Jarrett.
We've got a shout here for Harley Race and Scott Hall, but both of those would not have been applied at this
Harley
time.
Race would have been way too early, I think. Jericho.
Yeah, and Scott Hall never held the big one, no. Goldberg.
Yeah, I've just seen Goldberg in the chat. Sid. Harry Nash.
Ah, what a shout there from Connor. Chris Benoit.
All right, yeah, the old wife and kid murderer.
Yeah, won the title and then pissed off the WWF the very next day.
Yeah.
We got a shout here as well from Dan Griffin saying The Rock. Now, he was a WCW champion, but that one it was owned by WWE. So does that count?
Yes. Yeah, it's essentially, I think Jericho is the last one because he united both the belts.
Vengeance, yeah. Okay.
So
Scott
Kurt
Steiner
Angle's
for
going to be
Big
on that then.
Spatters. Yeah, Kurt Angle's a good
Steiner.
shout.
We've got five left to get.
Oh my goodness, 5 left to get.
So April the 26th, 1999, and whoever had that held it for like a week.
Oh, Jarrett.
I think I've had Jarrett, but yeah, we've got Jarrett.
Okay. DDP, Pig's Ladders, shouts out in the chat. That's a great shout. We've got
Good
Vader.
shout.
Matt, thank you.
Yeah, we've got Vader. Angle,
So what are the dates we got left?
Pretty much all of 1999. So we've cleared out the first half. So we've got November and December 1999. 2 left.
Oh my goodness.
So
Bret Hart from
dropped
Pig's Ladders. That's a great shout.
Bret Hart nailed it. Nailed it. With 5 minutes to go. Wow. You are superb.
The CWF is amazing.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Well done, guys. 63 out, 63.
Brilliant. Look at that. 5 minutes, 22 seconds left. You're absolute heroes. All of you.
Nailed it in 3 minutes, essentially.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. I enjoy those. We'll do some more of those, I think. That's good fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well done, guys. Well done.
That's great stuff. Well done. I suppose then jumping to the chat now would be pointless because it's just full of wrestlers' names from WCW. But shall we get on with our non-wrestling topic, Magsy, which is more from the CWF, of course.
It is. Let's do it.
NWT time. Oh! No wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
Big dirty belch. Okay, and now there's Pat Benatar shaking her goodness at us. I didn't think that GIF through when I first put it on there, did I? I just clicked funny dance and then saw that and clicked on it. Didn't really think it through after,
Were you a big Pat Benatar fan?
Certain tracks, mate. Yeah, that's a good one. Love is a Battlefield. That's a great track.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few others as well.
I think might be the only one I know.
Is it? No, oh man, that's going to stump me now. I'll think of some more as the show goes on. Before we carry on, I'm feeling a little bit parched, Maxie. So I'm gonna sample what we spoke about on the show from our good friend Cam Griffin, CWF member here. I got a little bit of orange cordial squash there that we discussed that he has mixed with Pepsi Max. So I said I'd give it a go,
and I said I would definitely not.
There we go. Look. So I'll see how this fares over the course of our non-wrestling topic. But there we go. And honestly, now it looks just like murky Pepsi Max and smells pretty fucking horrible. But
down in one.
Down in one. No, I will puke. I'll try a bit now, though. Let's try a bit now.
You've got to review it. We've got to know if Cam is an absolute dosser.
Okay, we'll call it interesting for now. We'll see how
that's getting poured right down the drain.
We'll see how I get on with that. Well, I'll have a bit more. We'll see how we go. This week's non-wrestling topic is, well, first of all, it was Ask Us Anything. One question, away you go. And naturally, of course, because everyone kind of bends the rules a little bit, follows Magsy's
Takes
glorious
the piss.
example. We've had a few ask us extra questions, but that's fine. We'll dive on him. And then obviously as well, promote yourselves and we'll talk about your stuff as well. So most of these tweets and messages we've had in are two-parters in that system and that format, Mr. Mags.
Okay, so let's crack on then.
Let's dive on in the order they arrived into us
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah. If I didn't say
No,
that
not
though,
at all.
it wouldn't feel right now, would it?
It wouldn't. It just
No.
and it's just a little way to annoy me every week.
Yeah, fair enough. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, "What is your Mount Rushmore of matches you'd like to cover on chain wrestling going forward?"
I mean, we have covered some good and terrible matches. What would I put on the Mount Rushmore of matches we want to put forward? Maybe Barry Windham's last match.
Right. Okay.
That'd be a good one.
Just because he's retiring, you mean?
Just because he gets beaten, has to look up at the lights whilst we never have to see him darken our wrestling door again.
Well, no, because the way we don't go in date order, do we? So if we looked at Barry Windham's last match, we can still go back and look at other ones.
I'd make a on the fly rule that if we see their last match, then we can never mention them again.
Right, I see. So when you make the rules, we've got to stick to them. Is that what you're saying?
We've never stuck to a single a rule that we've ever set.
Yeah, fair point. I think the ones that really jump to mind, we've already covered. Because we've done 130 episodes now, so.
Well, I saw this question, and I was in the same kind of mind as you. It's like it's hard to pick 4 matches that we definitely want to see, but we haven't seen because we've strong-armed our way into those matches. But I think there is some matches that we probably do need to show a little bit more love. I don't think we've done enough Survivor Series matches, for example.
No, that's fair enough, yeah.
So we could, I mean, some of the early Survivor Series matches. I'd like to cover a full King of the Ring tournament sometime. Maybe the Bret Hart tournament.
Where he had
3 matches which were so different but yet so good. Something like that.
The videotape of that somewhere.
It's sad.
Brilliant. No, I agree with that. Have we done War Games 92 yet? Because I remember that went up on the poll a couple of times. They got beat by other things.
Who were the
Dangerous Alliance versus Sting Squadron?
Is it the one where Brian Pillman nearly gets killed?
No,
that's one.
That one beat it out 1 year on the 1 week on the poll. Sorry,
I don't think we have covered that one.
That one I'd like to look at. That one I'd definitely like to look at. And I'm not sure if we've covered this one either. But Savage versus Flair from WrestleMania 8 has been up on the poll once or twice, and not one.
Yeah, I mean, we could go back and look at some of the losing matches and try and strong arm them back in again.
Yeah, that's a good shame. Dan also says, by way of plugging himself, listen to my stuff. So he's straight to the point. And at UTT Podcast on Twitter, at UTT Tank, at UTT Putting, and of course the Doctor Who Pod and the Volley Show here on SJP World Media. And the UTT shows are all with our good friend UTT Rob as well, looking at some real diverse and interesting topics of wrestling that probably don't get covered on lots of other podcasts, Maxie. They cover things that a lot of people don't they? Yeah,
I mean, the dregs of wrestling sometimes. But the concept of the UTT podcast is absolutely brilliant. And so, yeah, their content is superb, Dan and Rob. The volley, maybe not so much. They've got Matt on there, which is a bit hit and miss. But, yeah, I mean, great. Dan puts out great content. It's as simple and clear as that. So we massively appreciate him.
And blatantly carries the Doctor Who pod as well, by the way. That goes without saying, because obviously he's on there with me. So I am Ben at Witticisms of Ben on Twitter. He says, what's brilliant?
Because it's right at the bottom. It's just
it's
you've
not
gone
in
from
the
the
order.
first one right to the bottom.
The order they came
and Ben is in the Ben is in the chat. Talking about the 2001 King of the Ring, and he said, "Is that the one that Crash got to them?" No, that was 2000, I think. It was the one that we're covering a little bit of later on.
A very, very, very little bit of.
I mean, Crash is involved.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. Ben asks, "What is your ultimate comfort meal?"
Okay, so I have 3.
Okay. Depending on how much comfort you need, is there a rating scale to this?
So, no, it's just whatever I'm in the mood for. So, I think it's hard to beat a roast.
Okay.
Amazing. Just for every part of it's a comfort. Second is Mrs. Mags's curry. Absolutely amazing food. And third would be sandwiches. Just absolutely love sandwiches. Anything on a sandwich. Yeah. So they're my 3.
Oh, okay. See, I love a roast meal as well. Bloody love a roast. But if I'm ever a bit down in the dumps or I got a bit of time in the afternoon, so I want to just sort of chill out on it,
toasty.
It's got to be a toasted sandwich, mate. Honey roasted ham and red jalapenos, banging. Can't go wrong with it, honestly.
I'm worried at how well I know you that I could pick off your answer straight away.
We've got a message here in the chat from Lou's Resin Room. Somebody I think you probably know quite well, Mr. Mags.
Yep, that is Mrs. Mags. Yeah. Now, just said something nice about her career, and now she's going to be trying to cause some ruckus. So, yeah, what I do with sandwiches, you guys already know how panicky I am with certain foods. Bubbly chocolate, it can absolutely get in the bin. But with sandwiches, I will deconstruct the sandwiches and eat them, eat the filling, and then the bread afterwards.
Right. So, yeah, but why? I don't get that.
I don't know. It's inexplicable. I like hot sandwiches where the butter has melted and then it's like a little buttery bread treat at the end.
So you effectively eat. So if you had a ham sandwich, you would take the ham.
I don't do it all the time. It's not like a every single time thing. Just sometimes I will take a sandwich apart. Yeah.
Okay. But effectively, why don't you just?
If it's a sloppy sandwich like a tuna mayo, I wouldn't do it with that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But you make these sandwiches for yourself, yes?
Or if I bought the sandwich.
Right, okay. But let's say you make the sandwich, right?
Right.
Why don't you just put the ham on the side of the plate and just get a bit of bread?
No, so like a ham sandwich, I would probably just eat that as a sandwich.
Okay, so now we're getting down to the depths of it. What are we taking out then, Magsy? What gets took out? What stays in?
So if it's something warm, like say I've made a chip sandwich or a sausage sandwich, that's probably the best one. Sausage sandwich. I'll make a sausage sandwich, and it'll look like a sandwich, and then I'll take the top bread off. I'll eat the sausages, and then I'll fold the bread in half because all the butter's melted and it's all nice and luxurious, and then I'll eat the bread last. Listen, wife.
She's calling you a liar in the chat.
You've got some good points for the face paint, but don't sell me down the river here.
She's even put it in capitals, mate. She is literally shouting at you in the chat now.
I mean, I do something pretty similar with like things like pies. I'll cut the crust circle around, and then I'll eat the inside of the pie, and then I'll save the pastry for last. I'm weird with food like that.
Yeah, see, and you take the piss out of me weekly for stuff I do.
And I'll eat all the things on my plate separately. I'm not a mixer in and get a bit of everything on my fork. I don't do that. Like anything liquid that will go first, or like beans or peas, they'll go, and then I'll eat them in order of what I enjoy the most.
So you eat the best thing first?
No, the best thing gets served to last.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what you got to do, innit? You got to save the best thing to last. Yeah. I'm on board with a bit of that. Yeah, I can't have like carrot and then peas.
Well, I recovered a little bit. Dan Griffin said, using food as a butter delivery system, you eat like my youngest niece. You may as well eat butter with a spoon. Funny you mentioned that because the other day, Thea, our granddaughter, she was actually eating butter out of the tub. Yeah, so that's fun.
Speaking of eating a spoonful of butter, that is something else that Cam Griffin mentioned. I did say to Sharon earlier on, I might ask you to bring me up a spoonful of butter later, but we'll see how we get on for time wise, shall we? Because I'm not enjoying my orange Pepsi Max just yet. So Ben says also, promoting himself here, Ransomeisters, the home of two bearded miscreants moaning about anything and everything. Doing the A to Z of ranting. Last episode was S. Also linked to our music rants, the Rantology playlist, now available on Spotify. There we go. And Ransomeisters I enjoy because a lot of the opinions they have are pretty much the opinions I have. So
pretty much. But another podcast that is really unique, and two absolute great guys hosting it. Two guys who we absolutely destroyed in a pub quiz not too long ago. But yeah, absolutely great guys.
My big brain. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. Who I think is
you are not claiming the glory for that, my big brain.
Danny, I think, is still in Glasgow visiting family. Is it Glasgow? I know he goes to Scotland. I don't know if it's Glasgow though. But anyway, he's still in Scotland at least, visiting family, so he might not be in the chat tonight. But yeah, he'll probably hear this on the podcast version whenever it does actually come out. Danny says, for Sai, reform the Dungeon of Doom with wrestlers from the 1995 WWF roster. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, Dungeon of Doom was for the stupid, shitty gimmicks. So 1995 WWF, I'm thinking you've got to go with the bloody dumpster guy. He was around in 95, wasn't he?
Yeah, 95, 96.
Yeah, Glenn Jacobs as the dentist. What was his name? Isaac Yankem, wasn't it? He should be in there because it was ridiculous.
Was that not a little bit before? That was in his feud with Bret Hart, weren't it?
So that had been 94, would it?
I mean, you can have him because it's a fucking ridiculous gimmick.
It is a shit gimmick.
There's plenty of leeway.
Yeah, there is. I also want to chuck, is it Knuckleball Schwartz in there? The guy, the Brooklyn Brawler, painted up as the baseball. Because I think the face paint would suit the Dungeon of Doom really well because it's stupid.
It'd look a little bit like Zodiac.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, spot on. I mean, there's so many options from that time. TL Hopper, was that another one? The plumber. Yeah.
I saw way too much of that man's arse crack.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Magsy, for your good self, reform Camp Cornette with wrestlers from the 1995 WCW roster.
Well, that'll be brilliant because I'm terrible with 1995 WCW, but we'll go with Big Bubba Rogers. I think that was what he was called, aka the Boss Man.
Yep.
Let's go with Hugh Morris.
Oh, don't even start off on that bloody idiot.
Kamala. Let's chuck a bit of Kamala in.
Yeah, Dungeon of Doom fodder there.
And if we're going to have Kamala, we need Meng as well.
Yeah.
So let's throw Meng in. And then I think Barbarian were there. So we might as well get Meng's Faces of Fear partner, Barbarian, in.
That works, mate. That all works. And it is the kind of nonsense that Cornette probably would manage as well, wouldn't it? For 95, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he had Vader in the camp, so yeah, he's going to need some ridiculous gimmicks.
Yeah, there we are. And Danny also says, hear me on One Man's Meat Pod with the great Chris Bellis, Back When with the great Tyler Peters, and Nitro Nights with, and he says the great, but he's too kind, me, basically. But there we go. So you can hear Danny every week putting out all the brilliant content he does too. So Danny's on a lot of shows now, isn't he?
Yeah, and do you know what? I absolutely love that that the CWF are all branching out and creating content. One of the best things for me about podcasting is that it's encouraging other people to. Wow, when you're looking at your drink, then thinking,
no,
I don't want to waste the Pepsi though.
No, I can't.
Yeah, one of the things for me as a podcaster is encouraging other people to find their voices, and it's so good that people have them. It just warms my heart. So yeah, definitely go check out some of Danny's amazing content.
Yeah, it definitely, mate, definitely. I'm done with that, by the way. So my ultimate conclusion is Pepsi Max with orange is fucking disgusting.
Cam, you are a screw.
And you can't say I didn't give it a good try because I've drank a quarter of the glass there. That's a good few mouthfuls I've had.
You're fuming about the Pepsi Max wastage, aren't you?
I am a little bit. I am a little bit. But never mind. Pig's Bladders. At Pig's Bladders on Twitter, the Photoshop wizard himself, again responsible for these fantastic graphics that you see before you here.
Amazing.
Brilliant stuff.
Absolutely amazing.
Pig's Bladders says, "What TV show, past or present, best represents you and your life? And if there isn't one, pitch pitch what the show would be." A TV show that represents our lives. I'm not sure.
For me, it's probably Peep Show. Just two idiots fumbling their way through lives, getting into ridiculous situations, and just managing to come out of it at the end.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I can go along with that. I can also kind of think that at one stage in my life, men behaving badly kind of applied to how I was.
yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, so I've actually just got a WhatsApp message from my wife here. And you could have just checked this in. In fact, I'll wait for you just to chuck it in the chat, Sharon, because it explains potentially why I didn't like the Pepsi Max and cordial itself. No, I'll read it out. She must be saying there. We've only got quadruple strength squash, so that would have been rank, wouldn't it? It's like, yeah, maybe I've made it a bit too strong.
How much did you put in? So basically, if you poured half out of a glass and then topped it up with more Pepsi Max, it might be all right.
I'm not doing that.
In case you waste a full 2-liter bottle of Pepsi Max.
No, because it's not nice, Maxie. And Sharon's right.
Shit.
It is quadruple strength squash. I forgot about that. So yeah, it is very strong.
Anyway,
I put like
Cam has just turned up as well. Said he's just popping in to say happy 100 lives. Pepsi Max and cordial is an epic combo, so I appreciate you trying.
Yeah, it's not for me, bud. It's not for me.
You didn't. Dan says you didn't make it too strong. Cam is still a dosser, and then Cam has put quad strength. You're a hero.
No, do you know what? I put it in there, and I thought, is that going to be too strong? No, that'll be all right. Not realizing it was quadruple strength. You probably need like a tiny little trickle of that stuff, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you need 0 of it.
Yeah. Really. Oh yeah. In Pepsi Max,
in an ideal world, you need 0.
Honestly, I feel a bit jippy. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably made my belly go a bit funny. Pig Splatters also says, "I'm the elusive Photoshop wizard king, Pig Splatters. I spend all my days creating artwork to amuse, titillate, and enhance people's daily grind. And what brilliant work he does too! Yeah. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
And he's the biggest he's the biggest Barry Horowitz fan known to mankind, and he really champions the king of the jobbers. So yeah,
there we go."
Brilliant addition to the CDRF. We absolutely love you, King Pig Splatters.
Yeah, I want to make sure everyone, the whole purpose of this whole promote yourself section of the show is to make sure that everyone is following everyone else. I mean, the CWF will be, because that's the nature of how we work. But if we have anyone listening or joining us for the first time, make sure you are following these people and check out their shows as well. Connor at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. Sorry, I just did a horrible, really strong orangey burp, and it's made me feel a bit sick.
That you're going to have that for the rest of the night. That is going to be like the smoky bacon crisp burp. You're going to be tasting that for days to come.
It's not good, mate. It's not good.
And you're going on holiday as well.
I know, mate. Imagine if I'm poorly on holiday because I drank that shit. Connor says, "If I paid you £10, would you support the Columbus Crew the second half of the MLS season?" Yeah, sure. I'll send you my paper.
Don't send me £10. I will look out for the results of Columbus Crew. I'm not going to support them because the shit. Let's face it.
I'll tell you what.
I will look out for their results, Connor.
If Maxie says that, that's fair enough. Send me £20 and I'll support them twice as hard. There we go. There we go.
Brilliant.
Connor says, promoting at the Volley Show on Twitter. That I help co-host with Matt Attack UK and Dan Griffin, where we talk about food, football, and sometimes bully Matt. Yes, indeed. And I've joined them not for as much as like the first show, the second show, the whole thing, because we were going live at 7. I missed a little bit of today's, but I joined them as long as I could, and it is good fun. It is good fun, and it just did descend into just talking food again, Magsy, as you can imagine.
I love how Connor describes it, and the main purpose of the Volley Show was not football; it was food, which is just amazing, absolutely amazing. But you guys do a great job with that show, and I'm glad it's on the network, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing the first audio recording as well, which is like their kind of recap review of the weekend's action as well. So that's going to be interesting there. MGB Graham at MGB Graham on Twitter. He says, what's the closest you have been to 100? Be it a cricket inning, keepy uppies, or the most number of wipes you have needed after a particularly rough visit to the porcelain throne. So the closest we've been to 100 ever on anything.
So I used to play cricket at school level. So I've actually beat 100 at cricket.
Okay.
Because I used to be really good, but maybe not so much now. So yeah, I've definitely been 100 of that. I don't think I've been close to 100. I think my highest snooker break is something like 40 odd.
Right.
So yeah, that's nowhere near. So and then 93 episodes with While We Watch. So I've been close quite a lot.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think I have.
You'd give off the aura of someone who gives up halfway through.
Maybe.
100 gigs, 100 festivals.
I've done over 100 gigs, yeah, easily.
Yeah, we got
well over 100 gigs. I don't know. I suppose the club that me and Sharon used to run cleared 100 goals scored a couple of seasons in a row. That was quite an achievement.
100 matches that you kept it afloat.
Well, yeah, we definitely did that. What was our longest unbeaten run? I don't think that was 100. That might have been 60 odd. I can't remember.
That's still over halfway.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
You were there. You were putting yourself down, and really, you've either got close or absolutely smashed it multiple times.
Yeah, fair enough. My wife in the chat's there saying, answer for Sai, pissed his wife off in a day 100 times.
That's 100 breaths. When he breathes, it just one more time that you wind the wife up.
Potentially, mate. Potentially. Graham also says here he wants to give a shout out to his 9-year-old at JGB_Jackson, who has just released the 50th episode of JGB Sports. 9 years of age, Magsy, podcasting and clearing 50 episodes. I think that is fucking incredible.
Graham and his boys are machines when it comes to podcasts. Really, really good. So yeah, amazing for Jackson putting out 50 episodes of his show, and amazing for Graham and Matt on Good Cop Bad Cop with Ryan now Nishgar as part of the team. They are the standard bearers for independent wrestling content. So yeah, we absolutely adore both of them.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff. Matt Butler at Trey Butler on Twitter. He asks, you have two options. Pick one. Daddy or chips?
Chips.
See, I don't know, because I like my dad. But I do like chips.
No. Yeah, exactly. Can always get another dad.
What? Yeah, but that's okay. No, I'm going to go with my dad.
I'm going to go with chips, because chips are amazing.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And Matt also says, I don't need plugging because, as we all know, I'm everyone's favourite Mancunian. You'll get a healthy dollop of my dulcet tones on an episode of the amazing At Rantermeisters in the not-too-distant future. So there we go. Look out for a guest spot from Matt there, Mr. Max.
Yeah, and he's also on... He's been on a couple of episodes of The Old Vision from Morty and Fitch, so check them out as well. Yeah, Matt's a great guy. Really appreciate him.
This one is interesting. First of all, anything to plug? Nah, I'm lazy. So that clears that one up straight away. Ja at Yalmorright on Twitter. He says, is Hogan better as a heel or a babyface? And which version of Hogan would you rather play out? And when he says play out, I'm assuming he means, let carry on, what would we'd rather watch, I'm assuming, not pretend to be, I'm assuming, Magsy.
I think for me, Hogan was great as a face in the early doors. But when wrestling, not so much when wrestling changed, but when fans' tastes in wrestling changed, and Hogan was still the white meat babyface, it got old. I think it took a long time to kind of change with the times. But when he did, he absolutely nailed it. And whether you like the man or not, the way he changed the whole game with the NWO and the heel turn, it was fundamental to wrestling being as popular as it was. So for that, I've got to say that heel Hogan or early heel Hogan has to be the best.
Yeah,
because it revitalized wrestling, I think.
I think a lot of it depends on age as well, because if you'd asked this question to 8-year-old me, red and yellow Hogan all day long.
Yeah.
Red and yellow Hogan all day long. Now I'm a grown-up and I understand things a little bit more, and I'm seeing it, the week-to-week TV on Nitro Nights with Scottish Danny. Heel Hogan is just fantastic.
Yeah.
But I don't think heel Hogan works so well if face Hogan wasn't so good as well, because you've got that contrast.
Yeah. I mean, that's with the ever old wrestling adage that to be a great heel, you need to have been a great face, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably go with heel Hogan at the moment, but you can ask me again tomorrow. My mind might be different. I don't know. So
that being said, I do like going back to early 90s, late 80s Hogan, and just seeing how much the crowd loved that guy.
Yeah.
So both Hogans, I suppose. The one
Hogans.
Hogan that we hate is the real human Terry Bollea and his incredibly racist, self-centered dickishness.
There we go. Yep. Sharon in the chat there. We shall never forget the New World Organization.
That was brilliant.
He nearly screwed up that promo, didn't he? My goodness.
Yeah.
Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, what's your favorite alcoholic drink?
Okay. I mean, I'm not a massive alcohol drinker much now, but I do like a good whiskey, bourbons especially. There's one called American Honey Bar Wild Turkey. That is absolutely amazing. But probably my very favorite is a whiskey called Sheepdog, which is peanut butter flavored whiskey. That is amazing.
That does sound nice.
It's as good as it sounds. It's not overpowering peanut butter. It's just a little hint of it, and it's just a very smooth drop.
Yeah, that does sound nice. I'm a lager light for me, mate. I'm just an uncultured lager swilling moron, basically. I mean, my favorite
lager, no matter what kind of lager.
No, see, I don't know. I don't know about any lager. If money, volume, etc., dictates as well, doesn't it? And depending on what I'm doing the next day, dictates upon what I drink as well. But I mean, if I've got pick
87 pence on me, what is the strongest alcohol I can get for this?
No, it's not like that.
Do you have any Tennant Special Brew in the store?
Oh God, that stuff is rancid.
Do you have any Carlsberg Super Strength, please?
Bloody hell. Is it Tennant's X as well? The black can that's just got an X on it. Have you ever tried that?
That pours out like syrup.
Yeah, we had some of that at a festival once, and it got warm, and it was horrible, mate. Honestly, we were just not good. If you're talking ales, which Rob is, because he's there promoting himself in our second segment today, saying you can get a new favorite by logging on to Tartarus's website and using the promo code UTT Podcast 15 to get 15% off an amazing beer. Now, when it comes to ales, I really, really enjoy Golden Glory from the Badger Brewery. That is gorgeous. I love that. But I don't tend to find it in many places around Gloucester anymore. Used to be like literally in the supermarkets everywhere. But now it seems that they stopped the Golden Champion instead, which I'm not as fond of. So,
okay. Never been a fan of any ale type alcohol.
Well, I like trying different ales, but I don't like them too heavy, or the darker ones tend to be heavy as well. This one I can drink and have a bit of a session on. It's really nice, but a bit more finicky with that sort of stuff, I suppose. But there we go. We come to the football section that we mentioned at the very top of the show, because it's that time of the week again. Total Steve-O on our 100th live episode. And Steve-O asks for Mags, how did you feel after the City game?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier. It was kind of like a bring down to earth after the hearts of the championship season. It was expected. I think 3-0 against a team like Man City with the stars that they've got. I don't think it's an embarrassment. But yeah, you're just hoping for a new season. And a new outlook with our company in charge, that maybe we could have got something, but I'm not disheartened by it. I think Burnley will still do really well. Everyone who I've looked at who's doing predictions have got Burnley not only surviving but actually surviving very, very comfortably, and I agree with that. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. I watched the game with the brilliant volley live with the boys there. I thought Burnley at times looked pretty bloody good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
got a great company's done amazing to rebuild that team. Absolutely amazing. After all the bigger stars left for pastures new, he was the squad was decimated, and he's done really well in a year to turn it around and have an exciting but importantly young team. He's done a great job. He's done a really good job.
Yeah, I think there's going to be many sides that go to Turf Moor and really struggle to get anything there. I fully expect United to go there and struggle.
I mean, Burnley have always had a reputation of being anti-football, punt it forward, and just be a tough place to go in terms of playing football. But now we've got a team that play well. They're exciting to watch, but I think they'll still be a challenge for a lot of teams. So yeah, I think we'll do okay.
I think that press is going to rattle a lot of sides as well when they try and play it from the back. But there we go. Steve-O also asks, and I know Sharon's already answered this in the chat elsewhere, for Si, when would you consider going to download again? Now, Sharon in the chat further up said, when 30 Seconds to Mars headline, because that is one of the bands that she absolutely adores. And I would consider it for that, maybe a day ticket or something like that. To go with the wife because she adores them, and they do put on a good show. It's not the later albums ain't really my cup of tea, but they do put on a good show. And seeing Sharon enjoy herself at something like that, I love being there to see her enjoy herself. For me personally, it would take something pretty bloody spectacular to get me back at download. I'm by the time next download rolls around, I'll be 43 years of age. It's a lot of walking, and I'm a fat dude with bad knees. It's hard.
He can't mosh it anymore,
work.
folks.
Oh, mate, it's hard work.
It's hard. Likes his pipe and his slippers and his house coat.
Pretty much, mate. Pretty much. The festival I go to every year now is fantastic. I can walk to my tent in 5 minutes.
He goes to a jazz festival.
You can get fucked. If I ever turn around, honestly, if anyone I know owns a gun and catches me talking like that, shoot me in the fucking face.
Sa enjoys opera now in his old age.
Not really.
Radio
to get me to download, we'd have to have a day where something was spectacular. So a list of bands that I adore, all playing the same day. Because I don't think the stars aligning like that would be incredibly rare. Or a band that's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine is Poison. So the big hair band from the 80s. It's basically pop music with guitars, very cheesy, very over the top. Doesn't really fit in with a lot of the heavier stuff I listen to. But I've always got a soft spot for them. The 80s glammy side of things, and I've never seen them. And they're literally one of the last bands left on my big list of bands I wanted to see. Effectively, when me and Sharon got together and we've ticked them all off one by one. If Poison play Download, I'd have to get a day ticket because I don't know if I'd ever get to see them again. That would otherwise you're looking at something astronomical like Sebastian Bach with Skid Row or something like that. But it would take a lot for me to go back there, Steve, to be honest, because it is hard work, mate. Guarantee me a bit of sunshine, might change my mind.
all those just sounded like words to me.
That's
like you
because
just said a lot of words that made no sense.
Well, Steve will get it. Steve also asks to the both of us here, when was your favorite period of wrestling? Magsy, you go first, mate, because I find this incredibly difficult.
I mean, it's not a hard shout to go for the Attitude Era, just because that was probably when I was the most heavily invested. But in reality, it's probably the late 80s, early 90s when I first got into wrestling, because that was when I would watch it with my gran, and her favorites would be my favorites. And yeah, I think so. That's what I kind of harken back to more often than not, is like the late 80s, early 90s stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, it's quite tricky because I watch so much of all sorts of stuff. I can't pick because I think there's good and there's bad in every. I mean, the Attitude Era is a perfect example. We remember it so fondly, but you actually go back and watch it properly. There's a lot of shit.
Rough. It's ropey. It's very ropey.
A lot of crap. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the 80s, Territory days, and when wrestling was wrestling. I'm gonna jump on my Jim Cornette's soapbox now and talk about that when wrestling was real wrestling. But I'd like to give a shout out, actually, funnily enough, for potentially today. Not necessarily from an exact personal standpoint, but I mean AEW, 95% of that's wrong. Not 90, but a lot of what AEW does isn't for me. But I still enjoy the shows. I still enjoy the pay-per-views, and I get to watch it with my wife and my youngest daughter, and that's a big thing for me. So I'd probably say I get as much enjoyment out of wrestling today, watching it, especially with Charlie getting invested. I mean, she bays for blood, Charlie. She loves John Moxley, and when the glass comes out and the barbed wire, she's proper into it. And I'm looking at this beautiful, cute little 13-year-old lass, like, Jesus, what's going on here? But I get so much enjoyment out of watching wrestling today because I get to do it with Charlie.
Yeah,
probably even more so than when I was younger myself. So I'm very critical of today's product, but I probably put today's product up there as one of my favorite times because of that.
Yeah, because of you spending it with your family and you're all enjoying it. Yeah, absolutely. 100% understand that.
Yeah, but if I had to be really finicky, I'd probably say Jim Crockett Promotions 1989. But there we go. Steve-O finally says, I always ask this, where do you guys see SJP World Media and Chain Wrestling by the next 100 episodes?
Oof. I mean, I always feel that if you put lofty goals on and you don't achieve them, it can be disheartening. So any podcast that I've been involved in, I've never thought I want to be at this spot by a certain amount of episodes, because if you don't reach it, you get disheartened, and you're doing it to gain numbers and listens rather than doing it for enjoying. So for me, if we get to episode 200, I just hope we're still enjoying doing it. If it has become a massive cultural phenomenon, that's brilliant. But if it's still just us and our little group of CWF, I'd be more than happy, because I enjoy doing it as it is. So yeah, I don't have any particular goals for the next 100 episodes, just to keep having fun.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, having fun is the main thing. You know, that's the big thing about it. I love doing this show. I love the interactions on the live recordings and so on. Even though sometimes, weirdly, I still get nervous, Magsy. I got nervous today.
Okay.
Like literally half hour before.
When my camera was closed and he was like, "Oh, what's going
No.
on?"
No, I calmed down a bit then because I thought, shit, what do I do if he doesn't turn up? And I had to think then. But before I had to think, I went downstairs and I spoke to Sharon. And I felt nervous when I was talking to Sharon, saying, okay, I'm going to go upstairs now and set up. And I don't know why, because it's 100 episodes. I should be over that by now. And most of the time, I don't have
because
that,
it's a big number.
Maybe.
Like a monumental one. No, I
Yeah,
don't
maybe.
think can't say I've ever really got that nervous about a podcast.
Okay.
I just get excited. I get giddy.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that's good. That's good that you get excited. Like I said, I love doing this show. I love, as long as I'm enjoying talking about the things I'm talking about with the people I'm talking about them with, then I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing. And like Maxie said, if something catches on and I mean, the Doctor Who pod, for example, every show on the WWE network, every show on the SJP World Media Network is on the main feed, obviously, but it also has its own separate feeds because we've got people who may like wrestling but don't like Doctor Who and so on. So it's easier for them just to listen. Yeah, the Doctor Who pod's doing fantastic stuff on its own feed now, but it's took a year to get there. And that makes me proud, but it's not the be all and end all. I still carry on regardless. There are a couple of things I want to do with regards to the network. I mean, first of all, I'm loving the fact that by having the network and in theory being, I like to think, as helpful as I can be, it's a platform for people to try podcasting for the first time, or try doing their own show for the first time, or try something different for the first time. You know,
a bit of creative freedom.
Exactly. That I love. I hope that at some point, you know, in the future, that people are excited when they see the notification drop another new show is out, and we're getting that on a daily basis. We've had shows come and go and more shows come in and so on, and I hope that gets to a point where we are doing that on a daily basis. But again, it's more of an idea rather than a ambition or a goal, I suppose.
Yeah.
Couple of things I definitely want to happen, however. I want more subscribers for the YouTube channel, especially now the Volley is on board as well. We have Benny Mac also talking about doing more live content going forward when his new job has settled down and so on. I want more live content out there, and I want more interaction because I love the way that this operates. So more subscribers is something that I've not got a number in my mind, but just growing, I suppose, going forward. And secondly, the website itself. Designing a website for the whole network and having everything in one place for people, and also the merchandise side of things. So this is something I want to touch on later on, but I might as well bring it up now. TeePublic is our merchandise supplier. I'm not going to badmouth them. They've been brilliant to me. However, I know there are faults with the way they operate. Their carriage charges are very high. If you don't get the products when they are running a sale, the prices can be very high, and I can't control any of that, and that frustrates the shit out of me. So ultimately, at some point in the future, I want to make everything cheaper for everybody else. I don't want people to buy merchandise for the shows so I can go, oh yeah, brilliant, I've made X amount of money this month. Covering the costs of running the network would do me. And we've not done that once in the whole time we've been doing it. But we've come close a couple of times. But covering the cost of running the network, so I'm not paying out of my own pocket or anything like that, it would be great. So we can do that potentially with advertisers, sponsorships, merchandise sales, whatever, Patreon stuff going forward. It's all these ideas are in the pipeline. But again, it all comes back to time, Magsy, doesn't it? It's almost like I need to take a month off podcasting to prepare for what I want to do podcasting.
Yeah.
But I can't get the balance right and so on. But these are all ideas that I've had. Some are new, some are old, and they're not going away. It's just getting to the point where we get them done.
You can implement them,
Yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, we produce all of the merch in-house. Sharon can do 99% of it, but the big thing is we can't do the t-shirts yet. So we can't do anything from that aspect because the t-shirts is the big thing. But anyway, that's a conversation potentially for another time. But that's kind of where I see it. in another 100 episodes time, just making more steps to make it fun for everybody and get more and more people involved, I guess, Magsy.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Steve-O also says, I hate self-promoting, which is nonsense, Steve-O. You should self-promote because you're bloody brilliant at what you do.
He is so good.
He says, I hate self-promoting, but I present, along with Jason, an award-winning YouTube channel at Elite FPL, talking all things fantasy football and talking passionately about what's happened. This season is the first time in 3 years we can both settle with a schedule and present together, which is brilliant stuff. And I've watched Elite FPL. We've got our own fantasy football league. We can get the code on our social medias and so on to join whenever you like for the network. I don't expect to do very well in it, but it's a good bit of fun. I listen to these guys and look in the chat when they're talking on their shows. My word, these guys know so much about what they're talking about. And Steve-O's own podcast as well, the Total Steve-O podcast, talking music and all sorts, is just absolutely superb as well, Mags, isn't it? Yeah,
he's always been a guy who I've always been interested in hearing what he's got to say. He's very self-denigrating. He never bigs himself up, but I am always interested in his opinions and his thoughts. And even when I don't particularly like the things that he's talking about, like for instance, a lot of his music is something I would never ever listen to, but seeing him enjoy the music and seeing him talk about the subjects that he talks about and listening to his passion, it makes me feel passionate about the things I'm interested in. So yeah, I think Steve-O he's got such an infectious personality. He's very down to earth, and I am not surprised that Elite FPL has done as well as it is, because him and Jason are just absolutely brilliant horse. They're so knowledgeable, but yet still very, very relatable. So yeah, I adore Steve. I think he's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, he does actually continue here as well with his talking of his own podcast at Total Steve-O. Season 4 starts Tuesday. Looking back at The Office and extras, and not gonna lie, I've loved recording the 2 so far. Brilliant stuff. I also do a lot of bonus ones talking about what's happened in my life for comic relief. And Steve-O, I can't wait to hear the Office podcast that he's doing. Extras I've seen as well, but I love The Office anyway. So I can't wait to hear him talk about it, because I know how passionate he is and he loves that show. He loves a lot of what Ricky Gervais has done. So I'm really looking forward to hearing those shows there. I think it's going to be good crap, Mags, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve-O's another great content creator in our little group.
100%. We have a tweet here from The Volley, at The Volley Show, which you can catch on SJP World Media. Keep your eyes peeled all over the social media accounts during the week to find out what games are being covered that weekend. And they say, simple question. What is your favourite moment combining wrestling and another sport? Like when Wayne Rooney had a feud with Bad News Barrett.
Wayne Rooney?
Yeah, I got more tangled up there, didn't I? I put my teeth in. Like when Wayne Rooney had a feud with Bad News Barrett, for example.
Yeah, that one was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got to be Tyson.
Probably Matt. Yeah, I mean, he was only in and out for like that one little period, though. For me, I like the Pete Rose stuff with Kane.
Okay, yeah.
And year in, year out, where he'd enter the Rumble and get choke slammed out of his shoes and stuff like that. Yeah, I think I'd go with that, Pete Rose.
Yeah, I suppose you can open it up a little bit past just another sport and go to celebrity involvement as well.
Okay. Kevin Federline, when he had a match. No, I mean, there's so many celebrities that have really took to wrestling. I mean, loving or hating Logan Paul. The guy is a natural in the ring, and he's not had a bad match yet. It's as simple and clear as that. There are wrestlers on the WWE roster that would dream of having the matches of the quality of Logan Paul, and the guy's is wrestled 5 matches or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, the fact that celebrities get involved in wrestling is just is something that's always like amazed me, because it's very, very niche.
Mm-hmm.
Is wrestling, and for it to be in mainstream media, that just shows that maybe we aren't the geeky little nerds in the corner. That there's more of us wrestling fans than we actually think.
Yeah, WCW did some good stuff in the 90s, didn't they?
They broke the mold for involving basically mainstream media, going on talk shows, and the stars of the NBA being involved. I mean, the
Kevin Green
the
from the NFL, yeah, that was good as well.
The NWO NASCAR car.
Yeah, fair shake. Lots of good stuff there. And obviously we have talking celebrity wise, Pamela Anderson in 95, 96, anytime Pammy from the
Jenny
90s
McCarthy.
Jenny McCarthy. Yeah, that's good TV for me.
Bad Bunny, as Sharon in the chat says.
Very
King
true.
Pig's Bladders, William Shatner. John Stewart costing Cena the title.
Oh yeah, bloody hell. The volley also continues, and of course, promoting the volley, hosted by Dan Griffin, Conor McCabe, and Matt Lewis here on SJP World Media, YouTube, and podcast versions. Definitely make sure you're subscribing there.
So if you subscribe to this channel now, whilst you're watching this, you will also get the volley live thrown in. I mean,
that's what you need. That's what you got to be doing.
Win-win.
Matt Willis at the Matt Attack UK. He says, rare for me to post publicly, but here we go. Yeah, that's true, because I normally get a WhatsApp 2 minutes before we go live, don't I, Mags?
You do.
Matt says, what's been your favourite moment in the last 100 episodes of Chain Wrestling?
Oh, I always go back.
Tricky.
No, I always go back to you can't go around naming strangers' cocks.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I will look up the video for that Joe Wilkinson poem on 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, and every time it makes me absolutely just piss laughing. So that's my favorite. You can't go around naming strangers' cocks.
No, there you go. I was going to say that's very difficult for me to pick, and it is, because I've got so many memories and moments, and just times when I've literally sat here and thought this can't be good audio for people listening on the podcast, because all I'm doing is literally laughing, but I'm doing that silent laugh because I'm laughing so hard, where somebody has said something in the chat, or you've cracked me up, or whatever. But if I had to pick one to call my favorite moment, it actually becomes incredibly easy if I have to pick one, and that's when you came back from your little time away, and we had the very, very first show with you returning to Chain Wrestling after, what would it have been, 6 weeks potentially?
Yeah, something like that.
And at one point we were
when I went mental.
Yeah, okay, you say that, not I. But yeah, that show when you came back, and even the audio version, editing the audio version of that show, I just had a smile on my face the whole time, because it was me and you again, and getting Charlie involved in the little audio introduction that I made at the beginning of that episode, and so on. That's that. If I had to pick one, that'd be it, I think. So there we go.
So you made my pick seem very selfish now after all that. But
to be fair, mate, I've not gone away, have I? So you can't miss me, because I never go away.
That is true. That is true.
And Matt also says, I want to promote at Good Bad Wrestle, which we spoke about earlier on, didn't we, with Graham and so on as well. Brilliant show there. At Game Junkies Pod and at Dungeon Junkies. The last one got us through the pandemic. And this bit is lovely. He says, as did Sai and his lordship. Thank you for 100. Well, that means a great deal. And thank you very much yourself.
Firstly, thank you for being with us on this journey. I mean, Matt, he was so integral to me even being a podcaster in the first place. So he's always been the kind of the benchmark setter. So Matt, I can't thank you enough for not only introducing me to creating content like this, but supporting everything that we've done. Yeah, you are an absolute star, and I wouldn't change you for the world.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's, I think, Magsy, all I have from Twitter. Unless I've missed anybody, which you can now call me out on.
I don't think so. I think you've got them all. So, yeah. Guys, we massively appreciate just everything that you do for the show. Getting involved. It's amazing. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah,
and Sai's now got off. That's amazing. I don't know if that's Sai or if that's me.
I'm still. Am I still here? Can you hear me?
I'm still here. We've got a black screen. There we go. There we go.
There we go. Am I here? Are you here? Is everyone here?
I'm definitely here. Definitely.
Okay. Right. Fair enough. Don't know what happened
King Pigsman has said in the chat, all this talk of podcasts, I want a podcast. Lol. Then just do it. I mean, a lot of people will sit and kind of like overthink their ideas of a podcast. Don't do it. Don't do that. Just start practicing now, recording your voice. Get a subject that you're absolutely passionate about, and just talk away about it. It's just you can't go wrong. You absolutely can't go wrong. You will get better as time goes on. Your first few episodes will be absolutely dog shit.
Brilliant.
No, but they are. I mean, I will easily admit that the first few episodes that I did were bad because I was very conscious of what I was saying. It was almost too scripted, probably too over edited, and very very picky about getting every and R out of the audio. It ended up not sounding natural. So yeah, you will get there and go for it. And if you need any advice, send me a message. Not blowing my own trumpet, but I have given a lot of people advice, and hopefully it's all been good in creating podcasts. So yeah, if you need any advice or to run any ideas past, yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Straight away, he said he has a plan. So yeah, definitely do it.
There you go. And I know a network that might carry it as well.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Matt has said you are welcome to join on the volley at any time.
There we go. Speaking of which, shall we scan through the chat, Magsy, before we actually get on to talk a little bit of wrestling?
We shall. There's quite a lot to go through. Let's get right back to the top. I'm going to skip over all the times with where the Mrs. Mags was absolutely rinsing me. But really? I will say
that's not fair.
It is fair because she's just bullying me. But she does say have to go now, and she got more love than I got when both of us get them when we're on the show. Ben says we're not allowed to mention the quiz. I think you held yourself admirably, but you just came up against a better team, Ben, unfortunately. Then Dan says Cam can't make it tonight, but he says congratulations, even though he did make it, and said well done on drinking the cordial Pepsi horrific mix.
It's still sat there, mate.
Sa drew a picture of a wolf mauling a man during that quiz.
I did. I remember that. I got sidetracked.
Says, hey, you're seeing the ref, still enjoying my holes, but had to pop in and say a massive congratulations on 100 episodes. It's still amazing that we've actually got to 100. Here's the next 100. I appreciate that. Dan's WF dungeon will be Aldo Montoya. Jesus,
oh, wow.
What a throwback. Doink, Gold Dust, Mantor the Prick, Undertaker, and Vampire Warrior.
Yeah, fuck Mantor.
Yeah, I mean, this. You don't wish death on anyone, but he's not going to be missed.
No.
He's not going to be missed. Well, we've had the one from Cam where he actually did pop in. Dan Griffin's 95 WCW Camp Cornet, One Man Gang, Vader, Scott Norton, Eddie Guerrero. Scott Norton's a good shout. Very underrated, Scott Norton.
Danny loves Scott Norton on Nitro Nights. Absolutely adores him.
Yeah, he's a great wrestler. Cam says to add to his Dosser persona, He does sometimes have a sip of cordial before the water goes in. Oh God, that's grim. That is.
Why would you do that?
That would rot your teeth, surely.
It rot your insides.
Yeah, that's like pickling.
Oh.
Anyway, he says, catch the audio episode in the weekend. Have a great evening. Thank you very much, sir. King's Big Brother said he's now moved on from Barry Horowitz, so fuck Barry, lol.
Oh,
yeah,
dear, okay.
I think he's on a Disco Inferno kick right now, or the last one that's in. Matt says the Volley Live graphics are designed by King's Big Brothers. Yeah, he's a graphic genius. Dan says he ate a pie live at halftime, which is brilliant. Halftime pie club for laugh.
That's what they're calling the people who join them, because a big debate started, Magsy, about pies and so on the first on the Man City Burnley episode actually, and Connor being from the States didn't get having savoury pies because everything on that side of the water is sweet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. What you should do at halftime on there is cover at Footy Scrans on Twitter, because they have some great and horrific football match pie food. Dan also says, I know a guy who drank 100 Godfather cocktails in a week in my old local. Fucking hell, he must have just been permanently pissed. Permanently.
Well, it wasn't me. Just so.
Sar's definitely done 100 hours of podcasting in a week before.
I read that and I had a little think about it, and I don't think I have, because that's a lot. I've probably done. I might have done. If you count watching the shows, research, editing, and so on, maybe not. I wouldn't say 100, but I imagine there'd be some weeks where I've done many hours, should we say?
Yeah. James says 40 snooker break is solid. I used to play in a snooker league, and to get 40 breaks at that level is stuff of legends. Yeah, I mean, it's not something I could do constantly or consistently, but yeah, I've had a 40 odd, so yeah, that's a big claim to fame. Dan said phenomenal effort from young Jackson for getting to 50 episodes. Yep. Jackson, JGB. That's really confusing to say, isn't it? JGB.
Yeah, I struggled with it.
Matt says good cop, bad cop episode 250. I mean, look at that, 250
episodes.
Really taking the just our glory away from us. Bit selfish that.
Stop stealing our thunder.
Exactly. Mags, you can always get another dad. He did. Amazing. And then he says the old sheepdog. Yeah, try that sauce, sheepdog whiskey. It's really, really good. Then face blue smiling. I don't know what that's about. King Pig's Bladders, genital metal. Amazing. Sharon thinks today's wrestling is the best, said Adam Cole, Hangman Page, Jay White, Roman Reigns, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, Malachi Black. I mean, if you look at it in terms of technical skill, yeah, there's no doubt that this is the best generation. But is that at the detriment of storytelling? I think it may be.
Yeah, I think so.
And then King Pig Brother says no CM Punk, and Sharon says I'll get a ban if I say what I'd like to say about CM cunt.
How many times putting your hand over your mouth doesn't make it okay?
It does. For the people who are trying to lip read. Sharon says,
yeah, they're the issue.
Celebrity wrestling. Yeah, exactly. The damn lip readers.
The bastards.
Sharon says, in terms of celebrities, Bad Bunny is awesome. And then William Shatner. Mag says, I made him cry. I mean, it's just coming from the heart. So you've been an absolute star, and we all appreciate you being around. Sharon then said, the screen behind us disappeared. Yeah, it was. I mean, what would an episode of Chain Wrestling be if we didn't have some sort of internet technical issues?
Yeah.
King Pig's Valley says he's in talks to starting a podcast. Well, yeah. Well, if that's the case, let us know, and we'll all give it a listen and critique it for you. Matt says, of course, me and you, Si, are always welcome on Valley. We appreciate it. Just barge in. I mean, yeah, we have that power to do so.
I couldn't do that though. I feel horrible doing that.
What, diving in on someone else's podcast?
Yeah.
Just go in, take over, wreck the gaff, and then just leave again. That's what we should do. We should do a running one day.
You reckon?
Matt says, "Good cop, bad cop hereby challenge us to a pub quiz."
Oh,
well, that's stealing the thunder of Rantermasters or Martin Fitch. So maybe we'd have to go on there.
I think that would be the neutral ground, wouldn't it? It would have to be via Morty and Fitch, wouldn't it? I think. But I know they've got a backlog and a queue of people waiting to get on there. So
we'll have to. I mean, we can always bully his way to the front. We're like, do you know who we are? Sharon says she's got the login details, so she might just invite herself. King's Pigs Banner, official sponsor of SJP World Media Live content. Absolutely. James has dipped out to watch Joe Wilkinson's poem. So good. However, I've not seen that before. When you get Jimmy Carr and Sean Locke crying because of how funny you are a comedy god. And it's just brilliant. It's just I'm going to name you Captain Birdseye. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I may attach that on the end of the audio version whenever it comes out. Because like I said, I go away tomorrow morning, so I've got no idea when I'm going to get a chance to do that. But it will be out. It may be
tonight. It'll be out tonight, folks.
I don't know about that.
Matt says 250 episode will be a non-wrestling episode.
Interesting.
And then Sharon says that pop turn. Morty and Fitch never invite me to anything. Oh, he never fucking invite me to anything. Well, we've got to be in the cool gang, I'm afraid, Matt. I mean, you know a couple of guys who might be able to get you an in. Let's just say.
I hope you don't mean me. I've got no swing at all with anyone.
You've no sway with anyone at the SJP World Media Network.
No.
And it's your thing.
Exactly, mate. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Again, at this earlier time and on an odd day of the week, because just the way it drops with holidays and so on. So many people in the chat, some brilliant comments. The fact that everyone just gets on, has a conversation amongst themselves as well as talking to us is just absolutely superb. I say it every single week, but I genuinely mean it. This show is your show. Without you, this doesn't exist. It's as simple as that.
Exactly.
But Maxie, we've got 3 wrestling matches to discuss.
We certainly fucking have.
And we're getting on. Steve-O, when this comes out, the audio version comes out, Steve-O, I know, is going to see the little number next to it. I think he uses Pod Republic. It's going to come up with a little number next to it saying how long the show is, and he's going to love it. Because he says whenever it goes over 2 hours, he genuinely gets excited, he says.
and now with his new job as well, you'll have plenty of time to listen to it as well. So
there we go.
Anyway, let's crack on.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Now then, I suppose we both won the poll. What are you laughing at, mate?
No, we both lost the poll.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. We had a third option this week, basically saying all of it. We'll cover bloody everything, and that, of course, won hugely. And it's not going to come back as a weekly thing, so don't suggest
Can you imagine? There'd be no point us putting a poll out. We just said these are the 2 matches we're covering next week.
Yeah, not going to happen. It's a special occasion, being Chain Wrestling Live 100. So there we go. So we have 3 separate matches to talk about, which we will rate out of 10 individually. And then I suppose by that, the nature of the beast, we can rank them in order of our preference by our number scorers, Mags, can't we? I suppose
we can. I mean,
we can.
That makes absolute number sense.
It does,
figuratively speaking.
Where do you want to start?
I think we should make this a shit sandwich. So we'll start with something relatively good. Then the evening gown match in the middle, and then something relatively good at the end.
Okay, no worries.
We'll start with your bag of bollocks first. We'll go for
Right.
your absolute wank first.
You are winding me up. We're gonna fall out about this.
Do
But
you know
also need to
that
bear with me.
this match that we are covering for you was Dave Meltzer's first ever American 5-star match?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Did you know that?
I didn't know it was his first, but I knew it was a 5-star
Yeah.
match. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll get into exactly why it's fucking brilliant now, shall we?
Let's do it then.
Sorry,
it
just in the chat there, Sharon is saying, Dan's been quiet. I might send him a Cody gif. Dan Griffin's response, bugger off, Sharon, I'm on the phone.
Yeah, on the phone, and then beep, 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 beep. Fucking adrenaline on the phone.
Oh, dear.
Dan, why is Cody Rhodes' theme playing in the background? Sorry, Mum.
We head back to the 14th of February, 1986. We are in Orlando, Florida, and we are at Battle of the Belts 2, promoted by the NWA via Championship Wrestling from Florida. The main event of that show. You can watch the whole show, by the way, on YouTube. I mean, it's 2 hours, 50 minutes long, or whatever it may well be. You can watch it, and there's all sorts of, and it's a real snippet of the time. You can see some really obscure shit, but also some really good stuff as well. It's quite a snippet of what was going on in the territories on that occasion, on that occasion and those times. But we're looking at the main event. We are looking at Barry Windham, a very young Barry Windham, only 25 here, taking on Ric Flair.
He looked about 40. Jeez.
Yeah. When he came out, I thought, wow, he looks young. Because he's got the long hair and the hair's, and he had that red jacket on that he only wore for like the early parts of his career. And the first time you got to look at his face, he had that stupid mustache. And I was like, what the hell is he doing?
That was cool at the time.
Yeah, it's not a good look. Ric Flair at this point, I think, was already 37, Mags.
He looked younger than Barry Windham.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy, isn't it?
And he came out to Easy Lover as well.
By Phil Collins.
Phil Collins. Of all the songs in all of the world, for Ric Flair, the most philandering human being known to mankind, to come out to Easy Lover. Jesus, that's on the nose, that, isn't it? That is on the nose.
But he's still, obviously, Easy Lover is still a little bit more of an upbeat kind of, it's not a slow song, is it? And Flair's still doing everything he would do to his normal entrance music with Easy Lover playing in the background. It's weird.
It's very weird. Very, very weird.
Barry Windham comes out first, but we don't get the introductions until both guys are in the ring. And then we cut to the back and Ric Flair is cutting a promo that takes a long time. And Windham, about halfway through this promo, I'm thinking, shit, Barry Windham's just stood in the ring at this point, waiting.
But they did that though back in the mid 80s, early 90s. They'd have a promo just before the match. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is very strange. And Flair's odd in this promo as well because he's bringing out the catchphrases. We're getting the usual stuff that we get from Flair, but it's not the over the top shouting, extravagant style that we get later on. He is a heel at this point, but he also is quite popular and people are still cheering him in certain circles. I think he maybe is trying to sort of toe the line between the two at the same time in a way, Mags.
Yeah, it feels like that, like he's trying to be a tweener.
Yeah, fair enough. Eventually, we get Flair out, and we have a very fast start by Barry Windham, shoulder blocks and body slams and so on, which sends Ric Flair to the outside to have a little walk around and slow the pace down, which heel champions often did in this era.
Yeah. But you also know that Flair is not losing this match because he's wearing green. He's not wearing.
I thought it was red.
No, if he's losing, he wears red.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes, you're right. Of course. That's only a myth as well, don't you? He's won plenty in red.
I know, but I play up to the stereotype.
Did you notice his boots as well?
Flair's boots?
Yeah.
Oh, they look like a brand of trainers.
They're like had the leg bit was like green boot, like you would normally have. Then when it got to the feet, it was like black and white, almost bowling shoes. It was really strange.
Perhaps he lost his luggage.
Yeah, it was really odd. We get. I think this match starts really well, and I always come back to
quite a good pace, and Wyndham's obviously the faster wrestler, and then when Flair gets in charge, he likes to slow the pace down. Yeah, I think it's a really good start to a match.
Yeah, I always come back to as well. It says wrestling on the marquee, and this to me is wrestling. I love what we watch nowadays, but we touched upon it. Well, Magsy, it was yourself who actually said it, that athletically and some of the stuff that people do now is incredible. And technically, it's probably the best era we're ever going to get, but it affects storytelling. And I think this is a sign here of people telling a story during a match and not needing to do 87 backflips and all the stunts and comedy spots and so on that we get now. I think this is when I think not sports entertainment, but when I think pro wrestling, this is the kind of thing I think of.
Yeah, and I think the goals of the wrestlers nowadays seem to be different. In this period, the late 80s, the goal was to leave the audience wanting more, so that they come back and everybody makes more money. And I think now a lot of wrestlers have the mindset of they want to do things that nobody's done before, to get the clicks and the views on social media. And like I said, it for me, it feels that storytellers took a back seat because of that. It's more about the spot, and it's more about getting the "this is awesome" or "holy shit" chance. When back in these times, that wasn't a thing. This was about keeping a crowd invested, keeping the roller coaster of emotions going, and telling the story in the ring, and then setting up for the next time that the wrestlers are in town.
Yeah, exactly. And this to me is great wrestling. As I said, we've got some hammerlock exchanges. Ric Flair uses a drop toe hold to take Wyndham down at one point, but I think Barry Windham for the opening, probably the opening 10 minutes, he's kind of in control, Max, isn't he? And even Flair tries, Wyndham counters, and again, it's wrestling. I think there's nothing unbelievable in this.
No.
I think everything they're doing looks legit, and they're selling it well. To me, it looks like it could be a real sporting contest. What's in front of us here?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it makes total sense. You've got Barry Windham, the bigger, more athletic guy, and then you've got Ric Flair, the wily heel, trying his best to get one up on Barry Windham, and Barry always being that one step ahead, but Ric Flair having more tricks in his arsenal, and having to use as many of those tricks as possible to get the upper hand. Yeah, it's amazing storytelling, really well done.
Yeah. Barry Windham is working Flair's arm for quite a period in the opening, probably the opening 15 minutes or so, Max, isn't he? Keeps coming back to those top wrist locks, those hammer locks, and so on. Before then, we get
there's a lot of arm bar.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously a motivation for him doing that. I'm not going to lie, I can't think off the top of my head what that would be, because Wyndham's finisher, it's not like Flair later on in the match works Wyndham's leg because he's got the figure four in mind. Wyndham hasn't got a move that he's going to go to try and win the match that particularly focuses on the arm. So, but it's obviously a plan that he has in his mind, kayfabe wise. So,
yeah, just to wear Flair down.
Yeah. We got a spot here as well where both guys, they kind of send each other into the ropes. But Flair, I don't know if he stumbles or if he's slipped under the top rope or something like that, and he gets a pretty bad bump. One of the ropes gives him pretty severe whiplash, and apparently it really affected him for the duration of this match. And when you watch it, it looks incredibly painful, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just before this that the commentators are talking about how rope burn can be a hazard, and then this spot where it's almost like a clothesline over the ropes, and then Flair obviously has a little bit of a botch, but yeah, it did affect him. And you can see the professionality of Barry Windham, because he gives Flair a moment or two to get his bearings back, because the last thing you want to do as a wrestler is be carrying someone who's a little bit shook up, who's a little bit out of it. So but Flair is ever the professional and quickly gets back to doing what he does best. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that even the best in the world can have moments where something just doesn't quite go right.
Yeah. Wyndham almost then, again, to me, it's testament to how talented these guys were back then, how wrestling worked back then, because they call all this in the ring. This isn't a case of we're going to sit there and go through pages and pages of notes and get in the ring beforehand and practice this spot. They're calling all this in the ring. So what you see in front of you is, to me, this is a really, really good match.
Yeah,
and they're doing it off the back of their own. Yeah, they're doing it off the back of their own ability, as opposed to practice, which I think is incredible.
I mean, for a normal human being to be wrestling day in, day out, week in, week out, and be able to have totally different matches and still call it in the ring, as you said, that's so much talent in telling stories. The fact that these two could go 40 minutes and this match not look like every other Barry Windham versus Ric Flair match that there's ever been. It's just testament to how good of performers these two guys were.
Yeah. And you mentioned as well the pace early on being quite a good pace. I don't think it really settles down either. And obviously you get the difference in Wyndham's offense to Flair's offense, because Flair's the heel, Wyndham's the babyface, so you do naturally have that quicker speed with the good guy in charge and so on. But I don't think overall the match suffers. I mean, it starts at a good pace and stays there throughout the whole 40 odd minutes to me.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows that these two can go and keep that pace going without gassing out. I mean, there's a few times where they'll get a breather when they get thrown out to the outside, or Flair's doing his typical shenanigans where he's begging, and you get a little break then. But all in all, the match keeps a really a well-timed pace. I mean, I mentioned that this is 40 minutes long. Watching it, you wouldn't think it was 40 minutes. It's only when the timekeeper chirps over the tannoy saying how long the match is gone, you think, Jesus Christ, how has this been 25 minutes already?
Yeah. We get head scissors by Barry Windham, which Flair counters into a form of what would become the Regal stretch, which looked quite cool. But he also then tries to roll Windham from that submission spot to get his shoulders down on the mat at the same time to try and get a sneaky pin. And Barry Windham has got to constantly fight his way up from that position while still being in a submission hold. And I've just got a line here in my notes saying, this is fucking wrestling. This is wrestling. Yeah. This is what this is.
It was so unique. It's something that I can't ever remember seeing before. And the way Flair was still able to use the heel shenanigans, grabbing the rope and getting the extra leverage. Great performance, and props as well to Bill Alfonso as referee. I think he does a really good job in this match. I mean, his later days in ECW when he was a dickhead with a whistle. Yeah, I mean, I can live without that. But here, I think he's a great third man in this match. I think he performs his job really well.
What did you think of the commentary team then? Seems we're discussing the referee and that. We had, I think it was Gordon Soley and Mike Graham.
I think they were understated enough that they let a lot of the action speak for itself.
Okay.
Sometimes you get commentary teams that will explain everything that's going on, and you kind of you don't even have to watch the match. You can literally listen to it because you know what's going on. But I do like the fact that these were a little bit more understated, and that they let the match breathe rather than kind of like take over the broadcast with the commentary.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. We have an exchange of punches and chops. Quite later on into the match. I mean, we just had wrestling up to this point, which is pretty good. Barry Windham he gets sent into the corner before applying a Boston Crab. And I liked this because he really sat down on this Boston Crab, really pulled back on none of this halfway house bullshit that you see nowadays. It really sat down. He's rocking back and forth trying to get the submission. So again, it looked legit. It looked like he was genuinely trying to win the match. Wyndham also at one point applies an abdominal stretch, which again you can argue that these are supposed rest holds. Some people say this is when they're getting their breath back. But again, it looked like Wyndham was really talking the pressure and Flair was fighting to get out of it, which sets aside how brilliant this was again for me, Magsy.
Yep, and I think it's not long after this point where Flair throws Barry Windham out to the floor, and then he hits the barricade, and
yes,
Barry Windham is bleeding. Now
He
you
is.
would have thought Flair would have been the one to bleed first, but Barry Windham not only, I think earlier in the match he was bleeding from his arm, which is where the commentary were talking about rope burn and things like that. But yeah, this is where it's going to start getting good because we've got the crimson masks flowing.
That's it. Wyndham takes a knee to the stomach as well, and it's not just a case of he takes the bump, goes down, gets up, goes to the next spot. He's coughing and spluttering and holding his side because he's winded. Somebody knees you in the stomach, you lose. You can't catch your breath. And Barry Windham is selling it like he is winded again, adding realism to what we're watching, not thinking about the next fucking backflip.
Absolutely.
Ric Flair misses a knee drop, which gets a huge pop from the crowd because Wyndham then goes straight for applying the figure four before Barry Windham before Ric Flair gets to the ropes.
Yeah, Ric Flair's really selling the fact that missed knee drop hurt his leg.
Yeah. Barry Windham also gets a near fall from a surprise inside cradle from a body slam attempt from Flair, which he countered. Before Flair goes back to the head scissors and then hits a pile driver, but he doesn't quite sink it properly. I mean, I got a big thing, as people know, about people kicking out of pile drivers at 2. I don't mind it in special occasions, big events, whatever. But I watched Dynamite the other week or Collision the other week with Sharon and Charlie, and I'm fairly certain I saw 3 pile drivers kicked out of in one TV show, and
you're being hit on the top of your head,
being dropped on your bonds. Yeah,
in real life, you would end up being absolutely knocked out.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
This one kicking out on 2. It's a big match, so I can understand why they might try and get that reaction in there. I'm still not a massive fan of it, but when you watch it back on the TV, it's obvious Flair doesn't get the pile driver properly because Wyndham's half out of it with his arm. So they kind of got an out.
There is a reasoning why they've got he was able to kick out. He couldn't get all of the maneuver.
Yeah. So again, great storytelling. We get a near fall again from Wyndham on a backslide, and I love a good backslide, Magsy, as you are fully aware. Before the lariat gets hit for the first time, Barry Windham's running lariat where he spins off the person he's hit afterwards. Ric Flair looks like he's done, but just gets his foot to the bottom rope before the referee counts to 3. So that again gets a big reaction from the crowd, and people are baying for blood here. By this point, they're thinking, Wyndham is going to win the world title here. They are really behind this young lad that they're supporting.
He had all the momentum. I mean, you've got Flair starting to bleed now. All the match was in Barry Windham's favor. So the crowd were so invested in this.
Yeah, totally. And to be fair, so was I. I know the results before I play, but I'm dragged in.
And I can 100% tell that you were invested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you tell?
Because it's a dingy arena. It's 2 wrestlers from the 1840s. Yeah, you were well into
1840s. We get the Ric Flair corner spot where he goes over the top of the turnbuckles and then falls to the outside. Wyndham sends him into the ring post. So we then get, naturally, Ric Flair bleeding, which is only a matter of time, Mags, wasn't it?
I mean, Ric Flair breathes and he starts bleeding. But
yeah.
I do like his selling when he's getting slammed into these posts, because his whole body is shaking, and it's just skirting the line between making it look like it really is painful and overselling. And I that's one thing about Ric Flair that I always appreciate. He's so good at selling and making the moves look legitimate.
Yeah. We get a couple of sleeper spots, one by Flair, one by Wyndham. And when the sleeper by Ric Flair's applied, we get a very early version of the "Don't try this at home," don't we? Gordon Soley on commentary is saying, "Kids, don't do this to your friends. This is very dangerous," which really tickled me. Ric Flair starts on one of Barry Windham's legs now at this point before applying the figure 4. He's using the ropes behind the referee's back again, which is drawing a great reaction from the crowd as always. You know, it's just a heat magnet at this point, isn't it? Barry Windham counters the figure 4, like turns it as you do.
Well, watching this, it's actually Ric Flair that starts to turn. He stretches out his arm and like, oh, Flair, you went a little bit early, but yeah, it still looks really good. And Wyndham's able to reverse the pressure.
Yes. We get the spot where Flair gets to the top rope, gets caught and thrown off the top rope, which I think might have been probably the first occasion in this match where somebody's quote unquote flown, I guess. And we've had a few moments from Wyndham with a flying lariat and so on, but it's still believable shit. It's not the 87 backflips we see now. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And this the era as well where top rope moves were outlawed as well, because they do mention we get a point where Bill Alfonso is taken out when Barry Windham whips Ric Flair into him, and then Flair throws Barry Windham over the top rope. Now,
yes,
I know it was a WCW thing for a while, but I didn't know whether that same rule applied here in the NWA, that over the top rope is a disqualification, because Barry Windham is thrown over the top rope and then gets back into the ring and does a missile drop kick from the top rope, just as Bill is waking up. So I thought, is this that era of wrestling where top rope moves were forbidden?
No, the throwing over the top rope was a DQ. That was the way it was for many, many, many years. The moves from the top rope, that was a touch later with like Bill Watts taking over WCW. Yeah. We're looking at, I think, 91, 92-ish, that kind of time, I think. But yeah, Wyndham does that drop kick off. I mean, that's quite a sight, isn't it? The guy's, 6'6", and he's coming off the top rope with a drop kick like that. That's pretty spectacular.
And it's a really good drop kick as well, right on the button.
Wyndham applies a sleeper for a little while, but then when Flair is on the deck, he tries to hit a running splash, but Flair gets his knees up.
Yeah.
And then from there, Wyndham manages to hit another flying lariat. And you're thinking, okay, is this going to be the finish? And the crowd are going crazy at this point. They are so invested in what they're seeing. But it's another 2 count. Flair gets to the ropes once again. Flair then has a funny moment where he's thrown to the corner, does his sort of flip over the top rope, runs across the apron to get to the other top turnbuckle, but there's a cameraman in the way, and he has to kind of bundle past the cameraman as he runs by. But I loved that. I thought that looked really good.
Yeah. Ironically, it's not the only time a cameraman gets involved in a match in this week's episode of Chain Wrestling, because in the Hogan versus McMahon match, a cameraman gets beat up, and a commentator gets waffled with a chair. But we'll get to that later.
We effectively then we come to the finish, don't we? We get a crossbody which takes both of them over the top rope to the outside. Both try and get back in the ring with the other one pulling them down. The fight carries on, but again, it's nothing over the top or comical or it's nothing unbelievable. Everything they're doing here, I genuinely, even at my age, knowing how wrestling works and the mind for wrestling that I have from all the stuff I've watched and researched and for podcasts and so on, knowing all of that, I still bought into what they were doing.
Yeah. So they both end up getting counted out. So it's a double count out. And if you look up and down this card, there were 7 matches. 4 matches ended with double count out.
Yeah.
And the last 3 matches on the card all were all double count out. That's brave. That's brave.
Yeah. But this was a big issue with the territory days. And when they used to do these Battle of the Belts events, and then going into the super clashes later on with the AWA and those companies all world class all getting involved, because there'd be different champions for different companies. Nobody would want to drop their fucking belts.
Exactly. So it was a easy way out. Nobody loses face, but 3 matches in a row with that as the finish.
That's rough.
That's
rough.
That's definitely some dusty booking.
Oh, without a doubt. Magsy, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna score very, very highly for me, as you can imagine.
Okay.
But out of 10, I want to hear your thoughts on it and then your score out of 10.
Okay, so this is not my era of wrestling that I wasn't a massive fan of the territory days, or not that I wasn't a fan of it, just it wasn't a thing in my life. But I can understand why this was the first ever Dave Meltzer 5-star match. Would it fly in today's wrestling? Probably not. It's certainly a match of its era. But in terms of what I enjoy about wrestling, that's fundamentally the telling of a story. This is bang on. So I'm going to hate myself for doing this, but I'm going to give Barry Windham a high score. I'm giving this a 10. This was a banger of a match.
Oh my goodness. I've got 10 as well.
I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it.
I can't believe it. I thought when you said I'm going to give Barry Windham a high score, you're going to say something stupid like a 4.
That is hard for Barry. It's took his average now up to about 3.
That's made my week hearing you say that. It genuinely has.
It was a really good match. A really, really good match.
I thought this was going to get marked down, and I almost did because of the finish. But then I thought, no, because the finish...
But it makes sense.
Yeah, and it was a tiny moment in 40 minutes of wrestling that I think was believable, hard-hitting, athletic, at a good pace. And I think, you say, would it fly today? I think if you had 2 guys who knew what they were doing, you could put a match on for half an hour, 40 minutes, with this as a template, in front of a live crowd, and this would still work. Because I think it's of a good enough pace, and athletically, I think it's that good.
A certain crowd, maybe, if you were looking at a typical WWE or AEW crowd, this match would get boos.
An AEW crowd, because I imagine you go to an AEW show, you're not looking for wrestling to make sense, are you? You're looking for stunts and high spots. But Sharon, the triggers have been pulled. They have pulling the trigger. 2 big tens.
Hey, it may not be the only time it happens in this show because we've got 2 more bites at the apple.
Bloody hell. I'm going to move on now from Barry Windham before you start saying horrible things, because that's made my week.
You could have the best holiday ever now. And it's all because our tender Barry Windham match.
Indeed, mate, indeed. So moving on then, or we've got a couple in the chat to look at first. We better add because we're moving from match to match, aren't we?
Okay, so we've got King Pigsbladder saying now they just go to an ad break for 5 minutes and leave them standing there. Yeah, they chat to the fans whilst they go on ad break. It's ridiculous. And he also says spot after spot after spot. I mean, this match had spots, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't based around the spots. It was based around
the story. They made sense. That's the big difference. Yeah. They made sense.
James says proper pro wrestling. This Flair versus Windham, the next best thing after Flair versus Steamboat. And I want to give a little bit of props to James. He tweeted the show account with screenshots of him watching all of these matches, which we mentioned it before. We love the fact that you guys watch along with us, and yeah, it just makes us so glad that we do this show. Yeah. It really, really does. King Pigsbladder says 2 legends, absolutely. And we, as 2 legends, watch this match, so it's win-win. And Connor also says, Mags, Barry high score, I've got to clip that. No, you don't. Don't clip it. And if you have clipped it, delete that from your phone. It will never happen again.
The last one there from Dan Griffin, that tickles me. I'm going to move on from Barry Windham. You fucking liar.
He's going to have a wank tonight about Barry Windham getting a 10.
From you.
He's going to be pitching a tent in bed all night.
Oh dear. Shall we move on to something that's maybe not as technically sound?
I mean, it has spots.
It
I
has
assume
spot.
we're talking about the evening gown match now.
Yeah. I mean, it has spots. I mean, they're on Patterson's arse, but it has spots. Yes, King of the Ring 2000, an evening gown match for the hardcore title between two legends of the sport.
and they've come down to this.
Yeah, my word. Jerry Briscoe versus Pat Patterson. First of all, Hulk Hogan's music plays. That was funny.
Yeah. I like the build-up of it though, where Gerald Briscoe had become the champion and Pat was celebrating him, pours champagne in his eyes, twats him with a champagne glass to steal the belt. It's just a lot of people give this match shit, but at the time, this was hilarious stuff. It was two legends stooging for Vince McMahon, and it was just the comedy break in wrestling, and they were value for money. With Briscoe and Patterson, you can't. I can't shit on it too much. The match was horrific. Let's call a spade a spade. This was less a match and more of an Vince McMahon laughing at his mates whilst they absolutely embarrass themselves. But it was fucking funny. It was fun. Even the commentary was just ripping the absolute piss out of him. JR couldn't keep this straight. It was 3 minutes of comedy.
There's one line from Jim Ross where we get a few punches thrown halfway through the match. And those look great, by the way. The punches and the kicks thrown looked convincing again, which is a big thing for me. And JR responds by saying, Briscoe is a southpaw, as if any of that matters. I don't know why I find that so funny, but it just really got me.
It says something else as well about Briscoe is a proud American Indian. Yeah, it's that proud that he's wearing pantyhose and high shoes, and they both had lipstick on, so they went all in on this gimmick. It was good on the lads.
The match begins though with Pat Patterson on the microphone, basically trying to convince Joel Briscoe they're good friends. They don't need to do this. They try and hug it out, and then he just low blows him. And I
just punches him square in the dick.
Yes, sneaky bastard.
And then we've got Lawler saying that he looks like Pat looks like Moolah, and he absolutely did. There's a part where Pat Patterson's pulling things out of his bra. I think it's sweets, and he's throwing them into the crowd. It's amazing match.
Yeah. I don't understand a couple of the spots. The banana.
Yeah, I didn't get that. And Pat struggles with peeling a banana.
Yeah.
It took him a long time. I didn't get why he did that. The sanitary towel. Oh.
That was not a good look, was it? I'll tell you what, I've seen this before, but when I was watching this back today for the show, that really surprised me. I didn't remember that at all. I was like, whoa, no, really?
And then Pat goes for the stink face. And just to show his commitment to this match, he's got silk knickers on. Red silk knickers. But then he gets a punch in the bollocks.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Crash Holly arrives eventually. And I mean, talk us through the finish. Yeah, thank God. Talk us through the finish, Magsy, and what happens here, because the trash can's involved, isn't it?
Yeah, so we get Gerald Briscoe. He does the Bronco Buster. Then tries choking Pat with his own wig. Crash comes in, lobs a bin into the ring, beats up on both the guys. He then tears off Briscoe's dress, and then you get the brilliant line of Gerald Briscoe is wearing pantyhose. He then Crash waffles Pat Patterson with the bin, covers him, gets his title, runs off with the title, and yeah, thankfully, that was the bloody end of the match. We see a little bit of scuffling afterwards between the two Stooges, and Jim Ross is right. Have we had enough of this now? Can we have a shot of the outside to go at? Yeah, just hilarious, horrific wrestling, but hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Ratings wise, then this is where this
Right.
sort of thing gets a bit tricky for me, because as a wrestling match, it was terrible.
Yeah.
But it was entertaining. And we do try and say we judge the bell to bell in the wrestling and so on. So as a wrestling match, to me, this is like a 2. It's fucking terrible. But
I mean, 2 is
I did laugh.
2 is generous. 2 is
I did
generous.
laugh. So entertainment wise, I'd probably give it higher, but I suppose I've got to give it a 2 realistically for the wrestling, but more so. And again, it serves its purpose, because that pay-per-view needed breaking up from what was going on in the tournament and other matches that were happening. And this served as the light relief to break it up, didn't it?
Yeah, the piss break.
Yeah. So what was your rating, Max?
Positives are it was short, it was funny, it was short. Crash Holly, who he's amazing, absolutely amazing. A sorely missed wrestler, and really someone who made the most of what little he was given in the wrestling business. So I massively appreciate him. Negatives is horrific match in terms of wrestling. Seeing Pat Patterson's arse, seeing Briscoe wearing pantyhose, seeing Pat Patterson wear a bra, all the lipstick, I mean, this is coming from me with this on, and I'm saying that them two wearing makeup and lipstick is horrific. But you said it, you hit the nail on the head. It was entertaining, and that's what wrestling should be about. If this would have gone 15 minutes, I would have been horrifically disappointed. But for a 3-minute match, I can't complain. So I think this is a 5.
Okay.
I think this is high enough to be a 5.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. And finally, we come to, I suppose, another match that's full of blood, isn't it, really? WrestleMania 19, Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon. Now, and again, we talk about in-ring action, bell to bell, and all that sort of stuff. But the story going into this match, I think, is fantastic. And we get a typical, I say brilliant because it is great, but it's a typical WWE video package because they are so good at what they do. And we have this video package building up to Hogan McMahon, talking about the start of Hulkamania all those years ago, and then Hogan leaving for WCW, testifying against Vince in the trial of my life, as he says on the video, and all this sort of stuff. It's pretty dramatic stuff, Mags, isn't it? Because it's quite slow music behind it, and it's pretty dramatic and intense, thought-provoking stuff.
Yeah, and you get the images of McMahon busting Hogan up and signing the Hogan's name in the contract with his own blood, things like that. There's a lot of passion in this. To say it's a match between a very aged wrestler who couldn't really go that well at this time and a non-wrestler. There's a lot of meat on the bone for this feud, and it's all based on their real life relationship over the 20 years that they've known each other in wrestling. Yeah, it's a great storyline.
Yeah, definitely. And then it all comes crashing down, if you pardon the pun, because when Hogan makes his entrance, we've got shitty dubbed music. Yeah,
they've made it. At least it kind of sounds like what it's meant to be, but yeah, it's wank.
It is. And you even get Hogan. I mean, it's really child by Jimi Hendrix is the theme that Hogan was using at the time. You even still see Hogan doing the whole cut it down with the edge of my hand bit from the song. But yeah, it's a shame. But what is good is the stage setup for this WrestleMania, the lighting above the ring, and the lighting around the arena as well. When McMahon comes out, it's obviously a bit more stripped back. It's a bit more, as you would expect. But with Hogan, with the red and the yellow and the strobe lights going off, I thought it looked spectacular.
Yeah, he looked a star because of it. He looked like the main event because of it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, technically, it probably wasn't. Even though this wasn't the main event match, Hogan was still a massive name in mainstream media. So having him back wrestling for his second WrestleMania in a row, yeah, it's still a huge deal.
I mean, on that note then, Magsy, WrestleMania 19, detouring a little bit from the match itself, this is one of my favorite WrestleManias. I love this show. I think the opening is okay. You got the Cruiserweight contest with Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio. You got the ropey tag match that turns into a handicap with The Undertaker and Nathan Jones, was it? The guy who couldn't actually wrestle, so they pretended to beat him up. And you got a few ropey moments at the beginning. But when you get into, say, maybe the third or fourth match, maybe it's Jericho Michaels, I'm not sure. It's just banger after banger after banger for me.
I think the one just before this was Booker and Triple H, which, aside from the ending, which was one of the worst booking decisions of all time, the match itself was a classic. So yeah, this always as well felt like when WrestleMania, or this era, not particularly just this WrestleMania, but from like 18 onwards, was when WrestleMania became a mega event. I mean, you had it in the early days of wrestling when WrestleManias were the be all end all huge shows, but then there was the lull in the mid 90s where they ended up doing WrestleManias in arenas, and then from WrestleMania 18 onwards, it's the biggest show of the year. It's what the whole wrestling calendar is built around, and this show shows just how big WrestleMania has gotten. It just looked like a super show. It looked like the Super Bowl of wrestling.
Do you think maybe 19 might not get the love it deserves? I mean, you look at the years surrounding it, you got 17, which is always held up there as one of the greatest, if not the greatest WrestleMania of all time. You got 18, when everyone talks about Hogan, Rock, and that's a big, strong memory of that. Then 20, back in the Garden, and there's some fantastic matches on that card. The Triple Threat main event is superb. And then 21, even to conclude this sort of 5-year period, is WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, those famous video packages, and Cena winning his first world title, Batista winning his first world title, and the start of a new era in a way. Does 19 maybe get a little bit overlooked because what surrounds it, maybe?
Yeah, that's absolutely a great point. Yeah, I think it absolutely does. You've got as well the likes of the Rock pulling away from the business, Austin obviously out of the business. I think you're right that wrestling, this WrestleMania is kind of like overshadowed because it had such great WrestleManias at both sides of it. But I think this stands up to the quality of those WrestleManias. I think it's a really good period for WWE. This like 5-6 this 5-6 year run of WrestleManias, I think they're absolute bangers.
Without a doubt. Getting back to the match then, Vince McMahon makes his entrance and he is jacked. This guy is sodding huge.
Yeah, I mean, what is he here? He must be touching 50.
He must be more than that.
I would say actually must be closer to 60. And he looks in better shape than Hogan.
I mean, Hogan, was it yesterday or the day before? Hogan turned 70.
Jesus, was it?
So that's, I mean, WrestleMania 19 was in 2003.
Yeah, 20 years
ago.
So
20 years ago. So Hogan would have been 50. So McMahon, I reckon, must be 56, 57 here.
And he looks great. Absolutely.
He looks
great.
incredible.
Yeah.
The match begins with McMahon just giving Hogan a slap.
With the old slapperoo right across the chops.
And Hogan then gives McMahon a rather clunky, awkward-looking double-leg takedown, which I don't think is a move Hogan would have used a great deal of in the past. But this is under street fight rules and so on. Oh, something I forgot about, Maxie. if Hogan loses this, he's forced to retire.
Yeah.
Now, when I pressed play on this, I was expecting Hogan McMahon, the bloodbath. I knew the surprise that was coming up. I can remember the certain imagery that we'll get to in a moment. I completely forgot that stipulation was added.
Yeah. And it wasn't. I think, didn't Hogan get fired anywhere? Because it's not long after this that he did the Mr. America gimmick, where Stephanie had signed this new wrestler, sat on scene, the hottest free agent in the business, and it's Hogan under a fucking Rey Mysterio style mask.
Coming out to Real American.
Which he hated. Hogan hated that. And then he ends up leaving the company, and he reveals that he's a little bit of his face, and they use that as the out of Hogan leaving the company. But Jesus Christ.
See,
Hogan is
Mr. America
a masked
gimmick.
Hogan.
That Mr. America gimmick, I thought was just comedy-wise, I thought it was good.
Well, yeah, I think he was involved in a lot of stuff with, was it Eugene? I think it was, and Zach Gowen as well. I think he was involved in. So, yeah, that's where Hogan was. He still thought he was the star, which I mean, technically, probably, like I said, he probably was, but he wasn't happy being fodder for the likes of comedy matches with Eugene and Zach Gowen. So he ends up leaving, and the storyline peters out. But yeah, it's a bit sad.
Yeah, it is. It is. Both are in the corner, and it's a little bit scrappy at this point. Punches and elbows and kicks being thrown. But I think we come back to with this. I mean, I'm going to score this relatively highly. I'll let you know now. But I'm going to score it highly for different reasons to what I scored Wyndham Flair. Because Wyndham Flair to me is a class, just brilliant wrestling contest. This here, in a lot of places, is just quite clunky and a bit off. But I think when you look at it, you've got a guy, like you said, Magsy, who's pushing 60, who's not a wrestler. And then you've got a guy who is 50, who is a wrestler, but he's at the end of his run.
Well,
He can barely, he can't, he needs another hip and back operation at this point as well. So he's struggling to move. And we notice that on occasional moments when he's struggling to move. And I think there's a time around here as well. It may have been just before, where Hogan stops using the leg drop. I mean, he's tagging with Edge, and he stops using the leg drop as his finisher because it was affecting his hips and his back so much. Yeah. So the guy's obviously struggling from that aspect as well. This has got no right to be as good as it actually is, in my mind.
No, it doesn't. Like you said, you've got a non-wrestler and someone whose best days of wrestling were decades behind, and also them as a wrestler, he wasn't particularly notable. It should not. It should be a stinker, an absolute stinker. But I think they make it work through the storytelling, through the violence that happens, and yeah, and it just works because you know that these two's relationship has been so intertwined over the last 20 years, been best friends and then worst enemies. It just works as a match.
Yeah, there we go. We have what effectively is a test of strength, but it's a Greco-Roman knuckle lock, they call it on commentary, don't they? And this leads to Hogan starting to hulk up and the crowd start getting into it. But it's cut off quite quickly because McMahon just kicks him in the belly, which I look back on, I think, why didn't Andre do that? Why didn't Zeus do that? Why didn't Savage do that? Do you know what I mean? It's like...
because Vince books the matches, you see, and he booked himself to be better than all those wrestlers.
We're on the outside relatively early, and Vince McMahon at this point has been in control pretty much from the off, barring the Hogan takedown and a few right hands. McMahon is in control of this contest, Max, isn't he?
He is. He's really taken it to the multiple-time world champion, arguably the face of wrestling, and Vince is certainly holding his own.
Yes, indeed.
That's a sentence that should never happen.
No, definitely not. Vince is working the arm, which again is a very odd sentence to come out with, isn't it? But he's working the arm and the shoulder with shots to the shoulder and then certain arm bars and hammerlocks and so on. Before we get the first shortcut or weapon, I guess, for want of a better phrase, when a chair comes into play. and McMahon swings the chair at Hogan, who's leant against the ring post. He moves, which naturally sends an incredible amount of vibrations down the chair and I suppose electrocutes Vince McMahon by the way he reacted.
I think that's the best way of describing it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's then sent into the ring post, and then Hogan gives him a chair shot to the head. The noise made it sound worse than maybe it looked, but it didn't look great either. This wasn't an Undertaker, Mick Foley, or Rock Mick Foley kind of time, but at the same time, McMahon's not got his hands up. It's just a shot to the top of the head, and it
takes it square to the bean. Yeah,
it's not comfy viewing, is it? Knowing what we know now.
No, I mean hardly any of the chair shots in this match are good. I feel so bad for Hugo Savinovich because he takes a waffling, an absolute waffling when Vince is trying to clock Hogan. Hogan ducks out of the way, and he just gets absolutely waffled and taken out. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, McMahon's bleeding by this point, and that's when the chair shot to the announcer comes, and the announcer is bleeding at this point. As basically everyone's bleeding. The crowd are bleeding, the cameramen are bleeding, people backstage are bleeding. There's just blood everywhere. It's just it goes crazy, Mags, doesn't it?
It does. Not long after that, Hogan takes a chair shot, and then he's bleeding.
He's bleeding, yeah.
Then Vince pulls out a ladder.
Oh, yeah.
Which kind of didn't make sense at the beginning. I mean, it makes sense afterwards when you see why he pulled out the ladder, but he pulls out the ladder. Then it gets ignored for a little while, and then it gets brought into the match.
Yes, indeed. This particular spot here, again, it looked a bit clunky. It didn't look very smooth. It looked a bit off. But we come back to the fact this is a guy who is a multimillionaire, doesn't need to be doing any of this shit.
No.
Against a guy who is well past his prime and struggling for mobility. Vince McMahon drops a Hogan leg drop off the top of a ladder through the announce table.
Through the announce table. But before he does it, he does the Hogan hand to the ear pause as well, just to rub salt in the wounds. Vince, for all his faults, he was a fucking good heel because that crowd hated him for doing that. Yeah. Absolutely hated him.
I've got a note here, but before I read it out, I want to sort of prefix it with, I don't mean this as a criticism, it's just an observation. This is slower than I remember it being. It felt...
It's also longer than I remember.
Yeah, I don't... Plodding isn't the right word, because I'm entertained as I'm watching this, but I don't remember it running at this slower pace. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It works for this match, but I thought it went quicker than this, and we got to the next spot quicker than from moment to moment. We moved quicker. Is how I remember it.
Yeah, and I was the same. But then, if you think about it logically, as we've said, you've got a guy touching 60 years old who isn't a wrestler, and then a 50-odd-year-old guy or a 50-year-old guy who was past his prime. So it makes sense that it was a slower pace. But I think it's just rose tinted glasses that makes you remember it at a faster pace, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough. Here's where we get the lead pipe coming into play.
Now, and here's the best shot of all of the match. And Vince set it up. You can so tell that he was going for this shot because he hides on the side of the ring, looking for the camera on purpose, so he can pop his little head up and have that evil, satanic smile on his face. And it's a great visual. It really is a good visual of Vince McMahon absolutely covered in blood, with a pipe in his hand, and that evil smile. It's just a properly good visual.
It's horror movie-esque, isn't it? And I would argue watching as much WCW as I've watched, watching as much AEW as I watch, the WWE's production has always been a cut above other companies around it. I would argue that no other wrestling company would get that as correct as WWE did.
No. Perfect visual. I mean, it was clearly a planned moment in the match, but they absolutely nailed it because the camera work was spot on. Vince, the visuals were just really good. It was really well done.
Yeah. When the pipe is going to be used, Hogan stops this happening with a low blow.
Yep, he does, right in the grapefruits.
Both are down, and then some dude gets in the ring in a black gown, starts, and I remember watching this live.
Well, it was like a black Macintosh coat.
Yeah, and I remember watching this live, and when this happened, this was like one of the biggest surprises I can remember from watching wrestling in this era. It's Roddy Piper.
And Roddy Piper does not like to unbutton coats. He just tears it off via the button. The buttons go flying all over.
Yep.
And then you get the Willy Warranty spot of Piper hates both of these guys' guts. He's had a career-long feud with Hogan, and him and Vince have always been at each other's throats. So you don't know exactly who he's going to attack. But he does end up, I think he spits on both people.
Yeah.
He looks like he's going to clock Vince with the pipe, but then he absolutely levers Hogan with it. And Hogan's selling of this pipe shot was brilliant. He was selling like he was having a fit. You could see his arms and his legs shaking, which, I think if you'd been clocked with a metal pipe, you would have some sort of brain damage, and your body would react like that. You'd go into spasm. So really good selling. But Roddy Piper siding with Vince McMahon, Jesus Christ, what a wanker.
Bastard. Vince then gets hold of the pipe and wants to use it, but the referee stands on it and won't let that happen.
Yeah.
So Vince decides
he's going to the douchebag.
That's it. Vince then decides he's going to get rid of the referee, but it doesn't quite go according to plan. He tries to throw him out the ring, and he gets tangled in the ropes a little bit. And
he's not learned the art of bumping from his dad yet.
No, but at the same time, again, even though that was, quote unquote, a botch, as some people may call it, that could happen in a real contest.
Yeah.
So the way McMahon recovered and then disposed of the referee straight afterwards, I think, was a good recovery and believable, Mags.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It adds to the realism of the match, I suppose.
Yeah. Sylvain Grenier makes his way down, who is McMahon's own hired goon. Who screwed Hogan at No Way Out that year, I believe.
He did,
Which I think was in Canada, and I think it was some kind of Montreal screw job throwback again, because they can't leave that the fuck alone, can they? Let's be honest. And Hulk Hogan leg drop by Vince McMahon for the second time, but on this occasion, not through a table, just onto the canvas.
Yep.
Sylvain Grenier counts 2 before Hogan hulks up, and the crowd go fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basic. It's what fans love. The Hogan's hulking up is always going to be massively popular, and we've seen him get the absolute shit kicked out of him. His own moves used against him. People turning on him, and he's still in with a shout. So the crowd are well on the hype train for Hulk Hogan.
He launches Grenier out of the ring, and he takes a big fly over the top rope for Hogan, making Hogan look big and strong. We get the big boot from Hogan, and then 3 of the Hulk Hogan leg drops to beat Vince McMahon, because obviously 1 dealt with Savage, 1 dealt with Andre, but you need 3 for McMahon.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Hogan wins, and we get the celebration and so on. And then Shane comes out, I'm assuming trying to do some kind of David Tennant level acting just with his face, but not quite pulling it off.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to get the love of his dad, isn't he, Shane? That's he gets involved with this because he just wants to impress his dad. But he gets invited into the ring by Hogan, and he gets to look after Vince whilst Hogan smiles away, and it's just a job well done.
Yes. Indeed. Out of 10, Magsy, and your final thoughts on that?
I mean, this match is what it is. It's it was never going to be a classic in terms of technical skill, but it was a really good story. We got the ending that we wanted. We got some spots that will go down in history as really memorable. But as a match, it's very middle of the road. I think this is another 5. It's nothing.
Okay.
It's nothing offensive, but it's nothing spectacular.
Okay. Right. For me, I'm going a bit higher than that. But it's weird because Flair Wyndham was a fantastic wrestling match, and that's why I gave it the mark I did. This to me is a great sports entertainment match, and I was thoroughly sports entertained. And if you got street fight rules, I think it does kind of take away from the aspect of wrist
Having
locks.
to be a wrestling match.
Yeah. What they do within the confines of the street fight rules, they take a lot of shortcuts. Let's be honest. They use the blood, the table, the chairs, the Piper turning up, the referees. There's a lot of shortcuts here to get this match to be as entertaining as it is. But the shortcuts all work for me. So I've got 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay,
I enjoyed it. I would go back and watch this again, but as a wrestling contest, it's nowhere near Wyndham Flair. But it's a damn sight better than the evening game match, isn't it? I think.
Is it?
Is it? Seriously, would you rather watch this or the evening game match back?
I mean, I'd rather watch this match, but the evening gown match was only 3 minutes long, and
yeah, that's true.
It's very digestible.
Yeah, that's true. Okay then. So there we go. That's our 3 matches for our special 100th live episode of Chain Wrestling. I suppose we need to know what we're going to be talking about on our 101st live episode of Chain Wrestling. So, Mr. Mags, where would you like to link to next?
So, I want to go a little bit into the future. I mean, you can't go any further back, I suppose, than ye olde fucking wrestling from the territory days. But I want to go.
I can. Trust me, I could find a way.
I know you could. I want to go to 2007. The link is going to be Vince McMahon. I want to go to Backlash of that year, where Vince McMahon becomes the ECW World Heavyweight Champion when he, Umaga, and Shane McMahon beat Bobby Lashley for the title.
Why? Okay, that I've got certain memories of that. Lashley was really popular at that time, wasn't he? Like
He
crazy
was.
popular.
He was, and Vince McMahon absolutely stole all of his thunder.
He did, didn't he? What a bastard! Interesting.
No wonder he left and did his best work in TNA.
Yeah, true. I gave a hint at what I was going to go with earlier on, actually, when we were discussing matches that we'd like to cover as our Mount Rushmore. I think one of the questions was, it's a match that I've put up on the poll before and it's lost, but my link is Ric Flair. It's quite straightforward. I'd like to give another go at maybe having a look at WrestleMania 8 and Ric Flair versus Randy Savage for the WWF title there, and photoshopped pictures of Liz.
Yeah, with the towels.
Yes.
R and L. That's for
Yes.
Rick and Liz. I never
There
understood
you go.
why Randy didn't realize that he was in that picture. He must have seen himself in that picture before.
I don't, as much as I love Savage and as much as a great worker as the guy was, he doesn't strike me as massively bright. You know?
He may have had some of the Colombian marching powder when he was
Wow.
having the photo. But
That is true.
Still a
That
great
is
match. And it's got probably the best chance of winning this week now.
Well, maybe, but I'm intrigued. I know for a fact as well, anything from WWE ECW era is guaranteed at least one vote from Scottish Danny. It doesn't matter who's in that match. It could be the fucking zombie, the vampire dude, whatever. That's what he is voting for, because he loves that.
It'll be two of us then, 2 votes.
So those are your selections for next week's poll. We will head to 2007 and see a handicap match for the ECW World title. Bobby Lashley defending against Vince McMahon, Umaga, and Shane McMahon. I'll tell you what, we've not looked at Umaga before either, so I think that'll be intriguing. That's piqued my interest, actually.
What a waste of the fact when he died. It was such a massive waste. I mean, he could have been world champion. He could have been a legitimate
100%
world champion.
So good. Or WrestleMania 8 and Ric Flair defending the WWF title against Macho Man Randy Savage. The poll will be up later in the week. We will return again on the Monday evening as normal. This is again, just a little bit of a change because I go on holiday tomorrow and Chain Wrestling 100. We want to get out there for you. And the early start has enabled us to go a little bit longer and do a few other things, which has been good fun. But there you go. You'll be able to find the poll on our Twitter account, which is @chain_wrestling. Magsy, should we dive through the last few bits of the chat from our 100th live show before we get off? And I can probably start thinking about chucking a few t-shirts in a bag maybe for tomorrow.
Maybe an idea, yeah. Dan Griffin says I'm going to move on from Barry Windham, meaning you fucking liar. Yeah, because he mentioned him about 15 times afterwards. He also says this is the most time someone's tugged over a 10 since Sean Spears last thought about his NXT run.
Oh, dear.
In terms of the lead pipe, King Pig Bladder says lead pipe in the pantry with Colonel Mustard. Yeah, pretty much. And talking about Umaga, such a loss. Yeah, it is. Absolutely such a loss. So we'll talk about that if you pick Umaga and Shane and Vince beating up Bobby Lashley. And then one just coming through, Sharon, yay, happy 100. I don't know if the yay is because it's finally over or the fact that we've got 100, but we massively appreciate you, Sharon, as well for everything that you do for the show.
Yeah, well, that was what I wanted to get on to now before we depart, actually. 100 live episodes. It's, as we've said, it's a milestone. It's spectacular. Magsy and I are so proud that we've made it this far, and so proud that I think we're going from strength to strength, Magsy. I think we're doing better now than we were back in the day. And, the next 100, people say, here's to the next 100 all the time. And I love reading that and the fact that people seem committed to us. But I also want to say a massive thank you. And these thank yous go out to so many people. But first of all, the thank you goes out to my good lady, Sharon, for all the support and help that she's given Chain Wrestling and me personally with regards to the podcasting, the network, and all that sort of stuff. Coming on to be Quizmaster when we talk our fucking nonsense on occasions, tolerating my bullshit when I'm up late doing research or whatever it may well be. We wouldn't have got to 100 episodes if it weren't for Sharon's help on my end. I'll tell you that now, point blank. I want to say a huge thank you to you yourself, Magsy, as that fantastic, brilliant, clever intro video that was on the show earlier on. If you joined us late, go back to the beginning of the video and watch the intro. It's superb. Whoever made that is a fucking genius. Me. It does say on there that this started with just an idea in Gloucester, but a podcasting legend was on board, and that is the case.
And
I pitched this.
He backed out, and I took it up.
This show again. I say all the time, it wouldn't survive without the CWF. It wouldn't survive without you. And it is the way it is. So thank you so much for the last 100 live episodes, 131 episodes in general. It's been a blast. I can't wait for 101. And lastly, I want to say thank you so much to absolutely everybody who has ever retweeted a tweet, commented on Facebook, WhatsApp the show, emailed the show. I'll be honest, if you have emailed the show, I've not checked that for months, so I apologize. But thank you for sending.
You could have loads and loads of comments, and you've not. The show could easily be 3 hours a week if you'd have checked those emails.
Maybe. Everyone who joins us live, everyone who listens to the audio version, I've had an absolute blast these last 100 live episodes, despite having certain occasions where I've not felt like doing it. But you guys have picked me up when the little red lights come on and we've started going, and you guys have cheered me up and got me through some bad times. Hearing people say that Chain Wrestling and Chain Wrestling Live has got them through the pandemic when things were tough then. Various people have messaged openly on Twitter or privately messaged the show and said that it's got them through hard times when they were struggling with their own mental health or struggling with aspects of their own life, and thanking us for giving them entertainment and something to look forward to. First of all, it's brilliant that we can have any kind of positive effect on anyone's life. But secondly, thank you so much for reaching out and letting us know. But lastly, thank you so much for joining us, because again, this show wouldn't exist if it wasn't for you and your support and tuning in and sharing and all that great stuff. And whenever I read a tweet and somebody's got a picture of themselves in a Chain Wrestling t-shirt, or somebody's got a picture of themselves watching the match that we're covering that Monday, honestly, I'm grinning from ear to ear like an absolute fool, because it genuinely means so much that this silly little idea that we had has developed into this and our own little community, our own little family. So I want to thank everybody involved, everybody who's ever been part of the show, in the chat, tweeting, whatever. I love you all, and the CWF are just fucking diamonds from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I couldn't have said much better myself. Obviously, in terms of my better half, without Lorraine supporting me, it'd be exactly the same. That I wouldn't be in a position where I'd be in podcasting, and this show wouldn't have gone the way it's gone. In terms of you guys in the chat, and as I said, anyone who's ever messaged or retweeted or even got involved in any of the non-wrestling topics, you guys are absolutely amazing. People who've contributed to episodes, the likes of King's Pigs Banners and all the people who basically took my place when I was absolutely going crazy. You guys, I can never thank you enough for sitting in my seat and keeping the show going whilst I was away. It's heartwarming how much you guys support us. It really, really is. With you, sir, from day one, I knew that we would have good chemistry from the minute I called you Simon Preston. I knew that we were going to be really good friends, and I'm so glad that I've been on this journey with you, and long may it continue. We have such good fun doing these shows, and it's one of the major reasons that I was able to fight my way out from such a dark place. So yeah, you guys are just amazing, absolutely amazing. And the last thing is, thanks for just letting us be fucking idiots.
Yeah, totally.
There's not many people who get to enjoy doing something like this, talking absolute trap about a very niche piece of entertainment, looking and talking like absolute pillocks and getting the support that we do. yeah, we are blessed, and it's all down to, as we've said, from show 1 to show 100. This isn't our show, this is your show, and you are the biggest part of it, and we can never thank you enough for that.
Exactly. So there we go. Magsy, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at PodfatherMags, although I don't use it very much, but mainly you can find me on TikTok at PodfarmerMags, where I have daily news and videos about my gorgeous chickens.
There we go. Anything I'm involved in is available via the network that carries this show. So that's at SJP World Media for that on Facebook and Twitter, and also YouTube, Twitch, and all that great stuff. Make sure you're following us everywhere. Hit the like, subscribe button, and so on. Important we get the subscribers up, because it's not just this show that's live anymore. We have live content that comes from Benny Mac as well. We have gaming content that comes from Benny Mac. We have the volley now as well, which is going to be coming out at least once a week looking at football. And it's been so much fun in the chat for those shows as well. Make sure you're getting involved in that. Even if you're not into your football, it's a good crack. Evening games, have a couple of beers, chill out, chat to some people online if you ain't got anything better to do with your evening, and discuss what type of pie you like. Seemed to be a big theme last time. The podcast version as well of this show is carried by SJP World Media, as is numerous other podcasts that come out on a weekly basis, looking at different TV shows like Murder in Mind, Doctor Who, Quantum Leap, and so on. Some of them are a bit stop-start, some of them are on a hiatus because people's work gets in the way, but real life does tend to get in the way. Shows are out all the time via SJP World Media. Those, make sure you're subscribing on whatever podcast player, platform, or provider you have, so you get notifications of when all these shows and episodes drop. This coming week or so is going to be a little bit up in the air because, like I said, I'm on holiday. So Nitro Nights isn't back for another week. The Doctor Who pod is recorded. I got to try and find a way of making sure I can get that edited night this week as well. That might be a bit late. And the audio version of this. But we still have In the Corner with Benny Mac. We still have In the Corner with Tyler Peters now, doing his own solo show on a Friday, looking at AEW and NXT from the aspect of the In the Corner brand. We have so much going on. It's absolutely insane. The Volley podcast version, recapping the weekend's action as well. So make sure you are following all of that at SJP World Media, pretty much bloody everywhere. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show itself. That's at @chain_wrestling on Facebook and Twitter. And on Twitter is where you'll find our non-wrestling topics to get involved in and our polls to vote what we talk about week to week. Magsy, I once again have had a fucking blast. I'm off now to pack my stuff to go on my hollybobs and throw away this glass of Pepsi Max and orange because it's fucking rank. I'll see you next week, my friend.
And I'm off to wash off this face paint because I was the only one who give a shit. Goodbye, folks.